Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thanks for being here tonight. Tonight we're going to be discussing the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and what's going to happen going forward in terms of the Supreme Court. So it was announced today that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died at the age of 87. Now, she is a Supreme Court justice, was pretty instrumental in terms of pushing forward with egalitarian rulings, and I generally agree with a lot of the decisions that I was reading through. I'm more socially liberal than conservative at the end of the day, but of course, my national security stances and whatnot, and hawkishness generally be considered a pretty sort of conservative position, but when it comes to a lot of social policy, especially equal rights, that kind of stuff, equality of opportunity, I'm definitely like on the liberal side of things in that sense. I think that we're going to get to a point where that's not really liberal or conservative, and if anything, it might go in the other direction depending on how things go down the road, right? Where equal rights is seen as a conservative thing, especially in terms of what could happen if radicalization really continues. But I just want to go to the chat right now. We got WR Winter. We got City of Hawks here. City of Hawks says this stream requires the voice of the Wyoming Warhawk. He's been invited. We'll see. He's a busy hawk, so probably won't be able to make it tonight, but we'll see what happens. So Mitch McConnell announced that, he's promising to move forward with a quick, replacement vote. And so this will be interesting to see because, of course, the election is going to be November 3rd. But, as we are all aware, the new president doesn't come into the White House until January. I believe it's January 20th, if I recall. I can double check that. But, there's a bit of a time delay between, say, if Joe Biden wins to when Joe Biden would actually be inaugurated as president. And so that gives the Republicans here a window of, October, November, December, and then the first portion of January in terms of time to actually get a nominee through. So it's very possible that Ginsburg's position on the Supreme Court would be replaced before Joe Biden became the U.S. president, assuming that he wins in November. So, and then, of course, that would mean that the Supreme Court would go to a 6-3 distribution that favors conservative justices over liberal justices. And so that if that actually does happen, that basically means that, barring some extraordinary set of circumstances, it means that the Supreme Court will have a conservative tinge going into the next few decades, right? It definitely gives the GOP a clear advantage there for a long time. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was how, it was the case that Mitch McConnell had argued the exact opposite when Obama was in the process of nominating Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court. Mitch McConnell argued that, well, there's less than a year to go. We should wait until the election happens to go forward with the nomination process. And then, of course, Donald Trump wound up winning. But what's interesting about that is that, by and large, the Democrats were more weak on that, and we're more able to kind of take the direction from Mitch McConnell there. And now, there are charges of hypocrisy being levied against Mitch McConnell. I would say that on this particular issue, on this particular, I should point out, on this particular set of circumstances, the fact that McConnell didn't want to go through with the nomination process before, with a year ago, but now he's rushing it through. Yeah, we can all be real that's hypocrisy there, but it doesn't mean that McConnell's not principled. Like, I want to make this very clear. That is more or less just politics. That was him playing politics. So when people say, see, McConnell's not principled, no, he's a principled conservative. He's going to play politics to make it so that you didn't get a liberal justice. And now he's going to play politics in the other direction to make sure you get conservative justice. To me, that doesn't mean that he's unprincipled. It means he's a principled conservative who's so principled he's actually willing to be a hypocrite in order. The case of oh yeah, they're saying the sound cut out. I'll restart it. I'm back. So are you able to hear me currently? Because the sound cut out for a moment. I'm not sure if it lasted the whole time or if you were able to hear me. Okay, with WR Winters saying it's back, I just restarted the program. So hopefully that isn't going to happen in the future. Within the next couple of days, the new setup should be ready. So I've got the new PC with me now. I basically just need to get that up and running, set up a bunch of stuff with it, peripherals and everything, and we'll start streaming from that as opposed to the laptop here. I'm not sure if that was an internet issue or if that was a memory issue. By the notification I received on the StreamYard side of things, it indicated that there was a gap in the internet connection. So that's really annoying. But we know that, of course, we've also had memory issues in the past. For reference sake, the laptop that I'm on right now has 8 gigs of memory. The new build that we're going to be using has 16 gigs of memory. Processing power on the new one is 6 times more powerful than what I'm using right now. So hopefully this won't be happening again unless it really is a problem with the internet connection, in which case that won't matter. And I'll have to look into that. But I do want to get back to what I was saying, though. So I'm pretty sure you all heard me talk about how Mitch McConnell was still being principled, even though he was being hypocritical, and how he was playing politics, but that he's still principled in his political disposition in terms of his conservatism there. For me personally, I don't really care. I don't think it's like, oh, you should wait until an election to hear from the people, or we should rush this through because Trump is the leader. Or that's obvious he's playing politics there. If Trump was the president back when, he had a year to go, he would have taken a different tune, right? That's Mitch McConnell. I don't think that's a really important principle. I think that, if anything, it should be the other way. It should be, if you're the president of the United States, you get to nominate who you want and you get to vote on it, in the House in the Senate. So for Trump, here's the deal. It's not that big of a deal one way or another if you want to say we should wait until the election. It's just the problem is that raises an important question of then where's the threshold? How long is too long out? How long do you really have for it to be legitimate? I think it would simplify things if, for the 4 years between the inauguration in January until the next president's inauguration in January, for that 4 years, you get to nominate whoever you want. So Trump gets to nominate somebody whenever. I think that is that's a decent sort of convention to go by. That means that Obama gets to nominate whoever he wants, because he's the president, and Trump gets to nominate whoever he wants because he's the president. To me, this idea, it's a few months or it's a year or whatever away from the election. It's like, okay, but we need to have a threshold. We need to have a line. The line should be when the president is no longer the president. That just makes things easier and more legitimate. Because if you're going to say, well, it's not legitimate because, there was going to be an election in 19 months, Well, that's kind of goofy because then what's the point of even having a president if you're just going to say we can't nominate anybody until the next election? Then how's anything? Then everybody's lame duck. That's stupid. So the Democrats shouldn't have cared about what McConnell said back then, and the Republicans shouldn't care about what the Democrats are going to say going forward right here. That's my stance on that, and I don't care if it's a liberal or conservative, because if we're going to be playing these games about, well, is it legitimate? There's 6 weeks until the election, or there's 19 months until the election. I mean, at some point, you have to just say, hey, look, elections matter. The last election mattered. People voted for Trump, so Trump gets 4 years to be president. And if you don't like it, you can vote for somebody else. So, and that's coming from me, somebody who, like I said in the beginning of the stream, generally agrees with or agreed with Ruth Bader Ginsburg's rulings on a lot of stuff. Like, I believe in egalitarianism, equal rights, that kind of thing. I mean, it's obvious that the era in which she came to be a justice and in terms of starting her legal career, she was a second-class citizen. She was out of nine students out of about 500 at Harvard. She came first in her class, and she was prevented from getting clerkship at the Supreme Court. So the inference there was that it was because, she was female. And back then, yeah, that was a very good inference to make. And I think that a lot of the gains that were made in terms of moving towards egalitarianism through like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s were, very important. And you could say, especially, in other aspects too, we can look at, gay marriage, that kind of stuff. That took a lot longer to get through. These are all things that I think you generally could say make a lot of sense. Where I tend to diverge from a lot of people that identify as liberals these days is that they're so far to the left that it's not about equal rights. It's not about equality of opportunity. It becomes this idea that they want to seek an equality of outcome. They either want socialism or outright communism. And that's where I have a clear divergence of opinion. And of course, those people think of me as deeply conservative. They think of me as a chud, right? Even though I think of myself as mostly a liberal. So we have Wyatt in the chat, though, and I do want to see what everybody's saying in the chat, because we did have the technical issues happen again. Wyatt says, politically, it would be smart for Trump to not name a new justice and then let it motivate the GOP base to come out and vote for a SCOTUS judge. See, I was thinking about that. That's a good point. I was thinking about that today. I'm like, if you're the Republicans and you do nominate somebody, I mean, like I was saying before, like I was saying just now, I think that if you're the president for those full 4 years, no matter how close or how far away it is from the election, you were elected to be president, you get to nominate whoever you want. But let's just be honest, it's going to look like they're worried they're going to lose in November if he does nominate somebody, right? It's going to signal to people, well, Biden's probably going to win, so it's kind of hopeless. Time to get a bit doomy. So we're just going to, take one for the road here and get a Supreme Court justice through, because we know that Biden's going to win in a few months. That's kind of, or become president in a few months. That's kind of what it would signal. I want to see what everybody else is saying, though. W.R. Winter says, I'd be very happy with a conservative supermajority Supreme Court of the United States checking a Biden admin and future Dem admins. So W.R. Winter, yeah, that's the thing is, it really depends on the issue and everything. I think that having a more balanced, 5-4, 4-5 sort of thing makes things more interesting, and it can definitely make decisions a lot more, up in the air and whatnot. I think having a 6-3 distribution makes it a lot more clear, what's going to happen going forward. Like I said, for me, I'm like on a lot of the Supreme Court issues on economics and that kind of stuff, generally lean with the Republicans, and then generally lean with the Democrats on social stuff. So I do actually want to send an invite out to Wyatt, though. Now that I see that Wyatt's in the chat, because if Wyatt's got the time to come on, that'd be cool. Let's see. I'm also going to tweet out that we're live right now. That might get some more people in here. We got about 12 people in here right now, so thanks for being here tonight. 12 people watching on YouTube. Nobody's on Twitch right now, but we don't have anywhere near as many Twitch followers, so I'll definitely put up the link over on Twitter so people know that we are live. Okay, so there we go there. Wyatt says not to disrespect her after she died, but if you're a fan of the Constitution, RGB was pretty iffy on a lot of decisions. Gunshark says RGB wasn't super woke, so yeah, awkward. Let's see. Rodney says, I think we need a libertarian justice on the Supreme Court, like Andrew Napolitano. Yeah, see, libertarianism, that's a bit closer to where I kind of stand on stuff, generally speaking, where, most of the social issues and whatnot, more liberal, most of the economic issues, old school sense of liberal. So what people these days would think of as conservative. Nicholas says, but on the flip side, especially with polls looking good for Biden, liberals could be fired up like never before. Wyatt says, often SCOTUS decisions, people like are the ones that damage constitutional. Oh, yeah. Often SCOTUS decisions people like are the ones that damage constitutional integrity. I find GOP judges don't make the GOP base happy all the time because they aren't making partisan decisions. Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know. I don't really study this stuff as much as I probably should, but the sort of the weight, the lopsidedness of judicial activism. I know that we have a lot of judges that are judicially activists that are Republicans and Democrats, but it seems like at least in recent years, it does skew mostly towards Democrats that are judicial activists. But that's not to say that Republicans don't engage in similar behavior to try to get an agenda through. I think, you could argue that by the nature of the Constitution being written 300 years ago, that it'll have a more conservative bias relative to where the culture is now. But of course, the Constitution's kind of a fluid thing, and it does have an amendment process and everything else. So, because of course the founding fathers acknowledged that they didn't have all the answers back then, and they put in place the mechanisms for it to be improved upon. Zaya says, at Rodney Falberg, Trump actually said he would nominate Napolitano once, but it was only because he's on TV and was the only judge he could think of. Now he hates him. Yeah, but I think he likes Judge Jeanine Pirro. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That he definitely does. He definitely does. That'd be an interesting sort of nomination process. Duddy would do it. I'm not sure who they're going to nominate. I know somebody was asking who's Trump going to nominate. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to go through and actually have the hearings and everything before the inauguration. It would be interesting if they did decide to put up some nominees, go through nomination process and get somebody going in there before the election, because I think, as I was saying earlier, and I think what Wyatt was saying was that, I'll see if I can bring up Wyatt's tweet again. Yeah. Politically, it would be smart for Trump not to name a new justice and let it motivate the GOP base to come out and vote for a Scottish judge. See, that if you think you have a chance at winning and you know that you could improve your chances by getting people fired up, Politically, that'd be a pretty good strategy. But if you know you're going to lose, if you feel that you're going to lose no matter what you try, then it's in his interest then to nominate somebody as soon as possible and hope that they get confirmed so you can have, a big legacy and all that kind of stuff. Nicholas says, I always find it wholesome how Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Scalia were ideological polar opposites and yet were besties. Yeah, I mean, that's something that, they were opposites within, I guess, the Overton window of the United States in a way, but of course they both loved their country. They both were trying to do the best that they could to make America better. Yeah, I mean, it would be a little bit different if you were a bestie with somebody who actually like hated the United States and something. Like they happen to disagree on a bunch of stuff, but they were both pro-American. So that's why that sort of thing can happen. Winter says, apparently Amy Barrett is top of the list. I thought we dodged the bullet with Kavanaugh instead of her. Looks like she's in the running again. Zaya says, yeah, I think Wyatt is right. So I hope they nominate someone immediately. He says, I hope all the Hillary and Trump are the same, bro. And Jill Stein voters are happy with themselves right now. Well, yeah, I want to be very clear on something. When I was talking about how elections have consequences, how elections are actually consequential, that has to be the case. You can't just say, hey, man, we're 19 months or we're 26 months out from an election. So even though a Supreme Court justice just passed, you can't do anything, or we're 3 months out, or we're a month out from an election, or 4 months out from an inauguration. So, we should just let this go up to the voters to decide in the election. It's like, no, the voters decided in 2016 who was going to be president. Likewise, they decided in 2012 who was going to be president, and the Republicans were pretty obstructionist with respect to Obama. And I get it. I get why both sides are going to do what they're going to do here, because it's not about any sort of principle on should you wait until the election or not. It's about what serves your partisan interest, right? But as a standard, as a convention, I just think it would be a lot better if we just agree going forward consistently. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, whoever. You get your 4 years, you get to nominate, like you're the president. That's your job. That's what you were hired for. And if you don't like it, you can vote for somebody else or vote against them in the election, for example. But what happened? Well, we had people like Jimmy Dore. We had people like Kremlin Kyle Kulinski. We had a lot of people that were on the left that looked at Hillary Clinton and said, oh, she's a warmonger. She's a neocon. So either vote for Trump or don't vote. They were upset that their boy Breadline Bernie lost, that Hillary Clinton, BTFO'd their boy Breadline Bernie, and the Chapo bros and the Bernie bros, they were really butthurt about it. And, obviously Trump won. He won by about 70,000 votes across 3 states that were really important states that, Hillary Clinton needed a lot of more votes in. And, so you get Donald Trump. So that's what happens, basically. That's literally what happens. You can't just be like, oh, well, the election's coming up. The election's always coming up. You literally make that case. Somebody can make that case. Like there's a new president. Supreme Court justice dies 5 days into their administration. And you say, hey, man, we should wait until the next election. Let's let the voters decide. It's like, no. People understand what the president's responsibilities are. What the consequences of your voting is. You're voting for somebody who's going to have the power to appoint justices for 4 years. It's not 3.6 years. It's not 3.1 years. It's not 2.8 years. It's 4 years. Otherwise, you can just play around and say this is illegitimate, or I'm triggered. I don't like this, or I don't like that. No, Obama should have got Garland, and Trump should be able to nominate who he wants. But again, I agree from optics point of view, it is so close to the election that Wyatt's right, that politically speaking, it'd be a smarter move for him to actually not nominate anybody. But of course, I'd add the caveat there that, if Trump really thinks he's going to lose, don't do that. Nominate somebody right away if you think you're going to lose, if you think you got no chance. Do I think Trump feels that he's got no chance? No, I think Trump actually, I don't think he expected Biden to win. And why do I say that? Because if he thought that Biden was going to get, and when I say win, I meant the Democratic primaries, because with Joe Biden, what was the nickname that Donald Trump gave to him? He called him Sleepy Joe. That's a weak nickname. I've said that on the stream many times. I would have called him Creepy Joe. Like if I'm Donald Trump, I would call him Creepy Joe. Or I would have came up with something that alliterated, something that starts with a J, um, like Jerky Joe, something like that. I don't know. You got time to think about it. He didn't think that Biden was going to win. He didn't put any effort into it. Sleepy Joe, that's a weak nickname. We can all agree on that. Donald Trump had some banger nicknames. Low Energy Jeb, awesome. Lil Marco, very good. Got under his skin. It worked. Crooked Hillary Clinton, that one was good. That was a good nickname. Those are nicknames that stuck. Of course, Lion Ted, that one was great. That one was a memorable one. Sleepy Joe was just effortless. It made me really think that Trump probably thought that Breadline Bernie was going to win because he called him Crazy Bernie. Crazy Bernie is a better nickname than Sleepy Joe. So Trump could have done a lot better there. I think that he probably expected that Breadline Bernie was going to win. And then he'd very easily, like he was rooting for Bernie because he thought, well, if Bernie won, then he's obviously going to win because then even if you're like a middle class or a blue collar Democratic voter, and you think that Donald Trump is an asshole, you're going to be like, hey, man, he's a dick, but at least he's not an outright socialist who defends Castro and the Soviet Union. At least he's not going to take my cars away, that kind of stuff. So you're going to vote for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's going to win huge. And I said it before. I was like, if Bernie gets the nomination, Trump's going to have the biggest electoral win in 2020 since Ronald Reagan. But, what happened? Well, Joe Biden went on to win. I think that Donald Trump is a little bit surprised. I don't think, a lot of people are saying, hey, look, Trump's up 8 points. So he knows he's got no shot. No, I think that Trump is more confident than a lot of people would probably say going forward. I think the 8 points differential, that's going to narrow as we get closer to the election. But we have Wyatt in the studio right now, so we'll bring on Wyatt. Welcome, Wyatt. How's it going?
Not too bad. I was just gonna make a point just because this is what I heard right before I jumped on, but I do think it was actually smart for Trump to avoid this whole Creepy Joe nickname for Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe might not be, as great as Little Marco and Low Energy Jeb, but I think I would have heard him with suburban women to call him Creepy Joe in the sense it sort of seems like he's bullying an old man.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. But like Trump's old too. They're both really old guys. But
Well, from a,
yeah.
from a like a perception standpoint, I think people see Trump as like the young guy, not only because he is technically a few years younger, but he just seems like he's still 53 in the sense that he's never sort of stopped being himself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know a lot of people talk about dementia with Donald Trump and everything, but he does have a lot of energy. Like you do have to give him that. I mean, he's somebody who's out there doing rallies and everything, and he's somebody who's out there on Twitter. He almost certainly manages his own Twitter account. It's not interns or anything
Yeah.
like the way that he tweets.
That would actually be really funny if he was telling people like say say Law and Order and also put in all caps five
Okay.
exclamation marks afterwards.
Yeah. And like misspell this thing and that kind of stuff. There's no way. Like it's him. And there's something about that really resonates with people where they feel like, hey, look, it's a president that when they speak to you, it's actually their words. It's not just some pre-written or intern sort of thing. Like they can put a face to the statements and everything. And a lot of people really like that. And and I think that, yeah, that's a good point about how it would kind of look like Trump basically bullying in that sense. But I mean, Trump, he's kind of known as the bully. I mean, there's the Hollywood Access tapes. There's all this kind of stuff that's out there that makes Trump look like a really unsavory guy. And yet it never really hurt him.
Yeah, maybe he'd still get away with it. Like maybe I'm just being too cautious at this point, considering we have been proven over and over again that Trump can say whatever he wants and no one really cares anymore. But he's definitely someone who's just handmade to run for president in the sense it doesn't matter how stressful and pressuring it gets. He just sort of seems like the exact same person. And I've always pushed back on people whenever they say that Joe Biden has dementia or something like that. It's like people don't realize how difficult it is to run for president. It immediately just ages you to run. And if he won or lost, you like the month after that, he would probably just seem normal again. It's like how Hillary Clinton looks like she's going to die in 2016, and as soon as she loses, she's fine again. It's just that the actual mental strain just probably ages people
Yeah,
for the
that's a
time
good
that they're
point.
running. But then after you're done running, and either you're president or you're not, then you're just back to whoever you were before.
That's a good point. That's a good point because you have to try to manage PR. You have to avoid scandals and everything. Unless you're Donald Trump and you take the other approach where you have so many scandals and so much stuff that nobody can stick to anything, and you can just kind of coast through. And Donald Trump is a lot more laid back in that sense, for sure. I think that with Donald Trump altogether, though, he's somebody that if you ask me right now, is Donald Trump nervous about the election? I'd say yeah, but if you ask me, is he somebody who thinks he's got no shot at it? I would say no. And if he thinks he's got a real shot at winning, then I think what you were saying was right about how it would hurt him to nominate somebody right now because he could use it as a means to galvanize the base into the election. So.
Yeah, no, I guarantee that that the open seat on the Supreme Court in 2016 was a big mover for a lot of Republicans, because especially you're in states where it tends to go Democrat, even though there is a chance you could win it, most of the time if there's nothing really at stake, you just feel like, well, it's going to go Democrat anyways. Like there's a 80% shot at this, where it's like if everyone's super motivated to come out, that 20% actually starts to grow into more of like a 60%, considering you're going to have ridiculously high turnout in your base.
Yeah, you could say though, because I'm sure the Young Turks would make the argument something like, well, if Donald Trump doesn't nominate anybody though, then that means that it's time to fight, and now all the progressives and all this kind of stuff need to show up because there's a Supreme Court justice on the line. What would you say about the idea that it can go either way, or do you think that it still advantages the Republicans to have that hype?
I think it advantages the Republicans to have the hype of being able to put like vote in another a judge after the election, and also I think that Trump needs to be able to make sure that there's not too much that Joe Biden can hit him on during a presidential debate, because the thing is that Joe Biden could just constantly pivot to that as being a massive recent broken promise by Trump that now he's contradicting. He's contradicting himself, and the party's contradicting itself. And especially down the line, it might not hurt Trump as much to nominate someone and sort of look like a hypocrite, but it would hurt like your local congressman running a little bit more, because people tend to think of that guy as representing the party and Trump more so just representing Trump.
Right. Right. No, I think that that makes a lot of sense right there. I think that I think it's going to be really interesting to watch what happens though, because if if Donald Trump wins, then of course they're going to get a Republican or conservative leaning Supreme Court justice. But with Joe Biden's interesting because with Joe Biden, if Joe Biden wins though, he doesn't actually become president until like late January. So if Donald Trump did want to nominate somebody, there is a really good chance that they could get all the hearings and everything done before the inauguration, right? So like it would be possible. So would you say like if the Republicans thought they didn't really have too much of a shot, that they should nominate with somebody, or what would you think about that?
Well, you just made a good point there, though, that I think a lot of people would assume that they're nominating someone because they don't think they have a shot of winning. Where I think that if you want to look confident as a party, you just say like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it after the election," because the assumption is, and the statement you're making to voters is, we're going to be around after the election in majority positions in the Senate and the presidency to do this. But whereas if you're nominating someone and you're really pressing hard, it feels like, oh, okay, well, it seems like Rome is about to collapse, and you're just trying to get something done before it does.
Right. Right. I think that's the big thing right there. That's the big thing right there, is about perception and everything, because Donald Trump wants you to have that perception of him that like he's the best, he's the greatest, this kind of stuff. And the Democrats want you to have this perception of him that he's basically like Adolf Hitler with an American passport or whatever. And it's like it's going to be interesting though, because if Donald Trump wins, I mean, if Donald Trump wins and they do decide to draw it out and not nominate somebody right away, I mean, there's not going to be any argument against the legitimacy of whoever he nominates, basically. Like he's going to have basically free reign to nominate whoever he wants then, But I did kind of want to get your opinion on the idea, though, that if you are elected to be the president for 4 years, that you kind of should have the ability to nominate whoever you want in that time period. Otherwise, it kind of seems like where are we drawing the line, Because I mean, I know that McConnell said before, the election's coming up and it was like almost a year away. And when it came to Merrick Garland, and now, the Democrats are going to say the same thing about this, you should wait on it. But I mean, it's the sort of thing. How do you think it should work, though? Like I guess as a norm or whatnot, or do you think that we shouldn't really have like a consistent norm there?
Well, like as a norm, what we should have, like you're absolutely correct. I think if you're the president, up to the last day, you can do whatever that you want. You just should be able to. You're the president. This sort of weird thing that this other person's technically the president because we're in a month of the election, like that's dumb. I'm
Yeah,
more so just talking from the perspective of politics and stupid things people have said that have caused this to seem like it's the right thing to do. Like if we were to actually, like, I think if Trump wins, and then nominate someone to the Supreme Court, that would be a good time of saying it would be a responsible thing to do. Or even if Joe Biden wins, just say, hey, we're going to stop this silly nonsense of saying that it's technically, we should wait until after the next election is over before we do like important decisions like fill a spot on the Supreme Court. Because right now we're actually going to have the Supreme Court empty and not really able to make proper decisions in a truly representative way for like a few months here. So that sort of seems a bit silly if anything actually goes to the Supreme Court.
yeah. Well, and that's part of the problem too. Is to me, it just seems like if you're a president, you get that duty and you get your 4 years. That's kind of my attitude on it. So Obama should have got to nominate whoever he wanted, and Trump should get to nominate whoever he wants. But you're right about the politics, though. You're definitely right about it, and that it's that sort of perception of weakness or strength that can win an election. I mean, Donald Trump looked stronger in 2016, even though he was down in the polls by about 3 points, and yet he was still able to win. And so he has to look strong going into this. So
And I think it would be good, especially if I'm not sure who they're gonna put the exact top of their list. It's rumored to be Amy Coney Barrett at the moment. I heard Ted Cruz is also on the list, but I really doubt Ted Cruz wants to be a Supreme Court justice at this point. But by having a short list of people that you just are thinking about, especially if it's like 5, 6 people and it's sort of a list where everyone can find one person that they sort of like, then you can sort of make that list of people a bit of a rallying cry for your base where everyone can pick out their sort of dream judge out of that list, and then they're motivated to vote. Now senators can run on who they think should be who they really like on that list or whoever. You know what I mean? Where uh, it's almost like the senators running for re-election can then you know what I mean, sort of run on the fact that like, hey, if you vote for me, I'll elect this judge or whoever. They can sort of feel out which in their state which judge people like, and they can sort of like not run as if that person's going to be the judge.
yeah,
Maybe this
that's
is
a
a little
good
bit
point.
too in depth of what randomly I think would be a good strategy, but that might be where if a state doesn't really like Amy Coney Barrett, a senator can pretend like they're going to nominate someone else.
Yeah, no, that's a
Keep it
good
vague.
point. That you keep it vague so as to have the most crossover appeal to different sort of camps in your party and stuff. So, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, I didn't
But
really have too much else planned to talk about with regards to everything been
the
going
Supreme
on here.
Court, I
But
was just going to circle back to 2016 for a second because I think that was a
yeah.
big mistake that Obama made, and it sort of hurt Hillary Clinton when he nominated a Supreme Court justice. I forget who the guy was again. I think it was Merrick Garland. Was that the guy's name?
Oh, yeah, Garland. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. If it, that was probably a mistake because I think the guy was actually quite a progressive judge, not like an RBG type of a judge, but it was a definitely that's a Democrat pick. So if he had just waited then people couldn't sort of run against, like, if Hillary wins, then it's going to be Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court. Where again, if it's like, well, we'll decide after the election, then no Republicans really think of it as an urgent thing to deal with. Like, it technically still is an urgent thing, but people are sort of strange in that way because a name hasn't been brought up of who might be on the court. Well, now it doesn't really matter as much unless, even though that person would probably be named regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that Sean's just pointing out in the chat right now. He's saying "Turtle Man" in reference to McConnell is good at politics. I've always said I think that McConnell's a really smart guy, so that's kind of my perspective on it. I
I've
don't
never
agree with it.
understood his low approval rating. It's never made any sense to me. Like, in the sense that, like, even if you're a Democrat, he's not really like, he doesn't really have an offensive personality. And if you're Republicans, like, everything that Trump's done that's good, that hasn't just been by executive order, has been usually skillfully brought through the Congress by McConnell. At
Yeah,
this point,
McConnell.
it's like, if you really hate Nancy Pelosi, you should really love McConnell. But I guess because people just sort of like see him as a representative, as like government they don't like. Because
Yeah, they kind of see him as like a deep state guy. Like I think like a lot of the QAnon type people, they think of McConnell, they think of Mattis, they think of McMaster, like the is all those guys as basically like this old guard of people that want to keep Trump. They want to tell Trump what to do, that kind of stuff, But
yeah, like I don't even understand it. Like, the guy's genuinely smart. He doesn't. It's not. I can understand people disliking Jeff Flake. I don't particularly like Jeff Flake, but it's not like Jeff Flake had wildly different politics to Mitch McConnell. But you could maybe personally dislike him because he was a bit of a like a he really liked, he was a bit of a popularity hound, where he really liked making controversial decisions and holding things up just to take the spotlight for a bit. But it's like, when has McConnell ever done something that's like politically offensive or socially offensive?
well, I
It'd be
think
like disliking your dentist. Actually, not
yeah.
really dentist. Everyone hates their dentist, but it's like hating your accountant. It's just your accountant, man. It's like, settle down.
No, I
He's
think
an
that
old
one of the
turtle.
Yeah, I think that one of the big points that got a lot of people upset about McConnell was that, he wanted to draw out and say, you shouldn't be able to nominate anybody under Obama for about a year. That he basically he was seen as somebody that they saw as basically taking away Obama's ability to get a Supreme Court justice through. And now, of course, everybody's saying that McConnell is a hypocrite here. The thing is, I was saying earlier in the stream, I think that on this particular matter that he is hypocritical, but I wouldn't say that he's unprincipled. I think that in both cases he was a principled conservative and he knows how to play politics. But playing politics often involves being a hypocrite, depending
Yeah,
on who's in power. But
and before, when I was saying that the Republicans shouldn't nominate anyone, I was saying that they should do it to avoid the appearance of hypocrisy. When in reality, actually, Mitch McConnell is not being a hypocrite at all. If you put up forward a Supreme Court justice, the argument back in 2016 was sort of, "Hey, Obama, you can't even put these court justices through because we control the Senate, and we're just not going to give this one to you. Like, we're not going to just nominate whoever you want," because but Obama was maybe hoping that the Republicans didn't think that Trump or whoever their nominee at the time would be able to win, so that they'll take the guy because he seems maybe more moderate than who Hillary Clinton would pick if she had a super majority or a majority in the Senate. But yeah, like, McConnell wasn't even being hypocritical. It was just the logistics of it at the time. It's like, I'm not going to hear out your nominee, Obama, because there's no point. It's just basically going to be demonizing us for not voting them in during the hearings and whatnot. It's sort of a bit of it's just a bunch of busy work for no reason.
right. Well, that's actually a good point there that doesn't really get discussed about too much, is that regardless of what stance the Republicans took towards if Obama should legitimately get to nominate somebody, or if they should quote unquote wait until the election and let the people decide, you're right to point out that no matter what happened, nobody was getting through because it was a Republican controlled Senate. So that's a good point to note there. So that it wasn't as big of a deal as a lot of people would make it out to be.
Well, yeah, no, even if we were just to assume that the presidency every year is just a 50-50 on who's going to win, really, that just means that there's a 50% shot that we're going to have a hearing for someone who's and it's not even going to matter at the end of the day based on who becomes president.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if we didn't like the person and we went through like a month of hearings, that would be pretty tragic. By the end, we would reject them, and then our guy wins anyway. So that was just a bunch of wasted time.
Yeah, well, I think that I think that the election coming up in November is going to be closer than a lot of people think. I think that the polling right now that has it at 8 points, that one, that's popularity. It doesn't really look at the Electoral College, but I think that realistically speaking, Joe Biden, I think in my view, still has the advantage going into it, but it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people say, and I still think that Donald Trump still has a decent chance of it. But if I had to like put money or something, I would say it's probably going to be Joe Biden. But what's your
I
assessment?
see it as a 60-40 for Joe Biden right now, where everyone's saying like, "Oh, Joe Biden's blowing out Trump." It's like he's 8 points ahead in like national polling, but that's just because he's just especially beating Trump in California and New York this time around. He's winning by dictatorship numbers in California, which sort of skews the rest of the polling. But in swing states, he'll be up like 3, 4 points, 2 points ahead of Trump, and sometimes even Trump's ahead of him in certain swing states. So when you look at, I think 538 does a good job of showing you the path to victory. Is usually just a couple states separating them, like who's going to win Florida and who's going to win Ohio, and then it's decided more so. It's never this sort of, oh, I have 8% more of the population who likes me than you. Like that tends to not be how it works. And then you also have to factor in who's going to have better turnout. If Biden just, even if people like him, if he doesn't excite people enough before the election, well, that 60% of the population, even if he had 80% of the population who was like going to vote for him, he threw a piece of paper in front of them and forced them to. That doesn't mean that they're going to walk to the polling station and actually go fill out a ballot.
Right. No, that's a good point to point out though, that the actual race will be closer in the swing states, and that it'll be states like California, or not California, Florida, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, that make the difference, not California and New York, because we all know Donald Trump doesn't really do too well in those states, but they only have a fixed number of electoral points, and that's kind of it. So
And I guarantee you, if Trump wins, we're going to have another, like, probably a whole year of people complaining about the Electoral College again, not understanding. It's like the whole point is for people, for basically California, not to just elect a California governor for president. That's not how it's supposed to. That's not how it's supposed to break down.
yeah, well, I think that that the sort of idea out there that the popular vote is, it gives a good indication everything of what's going to happen, and that the people talk about how in 2016 they don't trust polls anymore because 2016 the polls were wrong. The polls were actually right in 2016. Like Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote. They predicted that she was going to win by 3%. I think she won by about 2% or something.
Right,
3 million votes.
swing state polling. If you looked at swing state polling, like the chance that Trump could win certain states over Hillary Clinton, I think the state that was most uh, lopsided that he won was maybe something like Wisconsin, where he won it when he was only supposed to have about a 20% chance, according to 538. I'd have to look at the numbers; maybe it was more like 30. But the reason that Trump was considered like was polled at only like 1, 2, 3% of winning is because he had to win a series of like 8 states where he had a 30% shot or 40% shot, which if you compound it, it seems almost impossible for you to win. But individually, those states, if something happens in the last week, the polls might not pick up that you've now swung into more of an 80% shot of winning it.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is that even in the case of the national polling where they were more or less accurate in 2016, Trump still won, even though they predicted that Hillary Clinton would win the popular vote, and she won the popular vote. So
And
the you know
well, here's a good way of looking at it: is that here's all according to 538, these are sort of the states that are uh, possible that can be flipped in a scenario where something crazy doesn't happen. I would say is like Iowa, Georgia, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, Nebraska second district, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, and New Hampshire, and Minnesota. You can throw Minnesota in there too. I wouldn't throw Michigan in this time, but those states, like, no one would like set their hair on fire if Trump or Biden won any of those.
Right.
regardless of who's favored right now. It's not like someone's like, oh, I can't believe Trump won Florida. It's just, like, we'd be a little bit weirded out if like Biden won like Wyoming and Trump somehow like came forward and beat him in DC. But all those states are feasible, and people have to realize that. And this is actually probably an issue for Biden, is that he has to keep up the perception, hey, this is competitive, guys, don't stay home.
Yeah.
Because like where it matters is not where people think it matters. People just think it's just like, oh, I have 8 points more than you in the polls. It's just a blowout. It's like, it's not going to be a blowout in Arizona, regardless of who wins.
Well, and that's a good point there, because you want to convey strength, you want to convey confidence going into the election, but you also want to convey that it's really important and desperate that you show up. And that's something that Hillary Clinton didn't really do that good of a job at. Like, I prefer on foreign policy than Donald Trump, but I mean, she basically kind of took the attitude that it was, it was going to be in the bag. And a lot of people, especially like on social media and stuff, basically thought, Donald Trump doesn't really have a shot. There's no way. There's no way. And so some people didn't show up, whereas they might have shown up if they thought that it was
people have to
urgent.
realize too that like Trump, as weird as he is, still has incumbent advantage, and and on top of that, the best place to usually be running is always slightly behind your opponent. Being in front is not actually a good thing. You always want to make it feel as if every voter feels like, oh, my vote's is gonna be the thing that puts them back into the presidency. Not that my vote is the 1 millionth vote that was unnecessary for Joe Biden to win. And that's sort of the issue, is that everyone thinks they're the unnecessary voter, so everyone stays home. And that's actually probably sort of Hillary Clinton's problem in a lot of the Rust Belt back in 2016, is that she was campaigning there to the point where I think a lot of people would have voted for her if they did, because there was very low voting in the Rust Belt in 2016. So everyone thought like, well, like Trump's not going to win Michigan. And even now it sounds funny that he won Michigan. And that's the point, is it was so stupid that he won. It was so he was sort of always campaigning as the underdog. So everyone in Michigan thought, oh, he might actually have a chance. And all the Democrats in Michigan thought, well, whatever, who cares? I'm going to go eat a taco instead of going to the polling station.
She didn't even campaign there. If I recall, Hillary Clinton didn't campaign in Michigan at all, if I recall.
No. There's a bunch of states she never even showed up to. At very least, she didn't show up to in the last 2 months of the race, which you just absolutely should. And I think that's the thing that people have to. You can't underestimate Trump with, is that he's sort of a bit of a campaigning machine, where he loves campaigning. If he once he stops being the president, he'll probably try and find something else competitive to do. The guy's never going to stop competing, and so you never can assume that, oh, well, Pennsylvania's safe, I don't need to go to Pennsylvania. It's like he'll just tour in Pennsylvania for 3 straight days and do 17 events.
That's true. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of energy.
He had a TV show probably because he was bored.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of thing that we've got. Who was it? There was a comment in the chat I just wanted to go to that said, WR Winter says, oh yeah, somebody was saying about how that Joe Biden. Oh yeah, Nicholas says, I just randomly remembered that Biden lost California to Bernie. The thing that was funny about that was that even a state that was as deeply conservative or progressive as California, Bernie only got, I think, 34% of the vote. So even in California, Bernie barely won over Biden. But then,
and sorry, if you look back at the results, I would say Elizabeth Warren voters probably go 50-50 between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden if they had to pick a second choice, because she's sort of a little bit halfway between them. I don't think that Warren's as hard-lined on the positions that Bernie is. And it was very telling on all the debates where she was just pretending to be like him, and then he would call her on it. She couldn't really back it up. But the thing is, Michael Bloomberg got 12% in that primary, and you could guarantee near 100% of those voters, if they could choose a second, to be choosing Joe Biden. So Bernie Sanders more so just came through the middle. And then you can even add in other people like Pete Buttigieg, who definitely are not second vote Biden people, and Amy Klobuchar and Tom Steyer, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard. They're all probably Biden voters on a second ballot if it existed.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was the sort of thing though that Biden won huge in the swing states, or not the swing states, but in the Rust Belt in the primary, and Bernie didn't really have a shot there. And to me, that kind of signaled that, that more blue dog attitude and style definitely appealed to people there. The problem is now going into November, well, Donald Trump is to the right of Biden. Now Biden's, in the same position there. What's going to happen? Like, is Joe Biden going to have that kind of popularity? And is Joe Biden going to be like, because I'm not sure, I haven't really looked into it much yet, but I know that there's the pandemic and everything going around right now, but is Joe Biden going to be giving rallies in those states? Because Donald Trump will. So,
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Like maybe like Joe Biden is a bit slower than Trump, of course, and I think that his team really needs to find a way of him having daily events to always be on TV without making it strenuous. Again, I don't think he's dementia or anything. He is just legitimately older, and then on top of campaigning, it just tires you out. So he has to find some way of doing more meet and greet type events, things where he doesn't have to be on script. And I think another thing that's really hampering Biden's performances in a lot of speeches that he's doing in town halls is the fact that Bernie Sanders admitted during the DNC that to not have a bunch of his supporters walk away from the party entirely and probably vote green or something like that. They had to adopt a bunch of Bernie's platform. So Joe Biden's walking around as an older man in a high stress situation, having to basically repeat scripts that Bernie Sanders wrote for him that he probably doesn't believe at all.
yeah. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think that what really will kind of determine the outcome in the election isn't, oh, well, Biden was up 8 points right now or anything. It's going to be how much does he condemn everything that's been happening lately, and how much does he embrace the mob? And what we've seen is that he's condemned the riots, he's condemned the looting, but he's embraced Jacob Blake and he's embraced the BLM. So it's the sort of thing that Donald Trump can kind of paint the image of Biden as being opposed to law and order in that sense, because he's embracing a guy who literally resisted arrest. But then I've had people on the other end say to me, though, that all of this is happening under Trump's watch, and it makes Trump look like somebody who can't deal with the mob. But of course, that's an attack on Trump from the right. That's not an attack that the Democrats are going to be levying against him. And if they do, you kind of have to follow it up with, well, are you saying you would have sent in the National Guard or something? Or what are you saying, But
yeah. Well, I just want to acknowledge Sean Brink saying that he supported John Delaney. Actually, John Delaney was a very good Democrat. I really liked him. Man, that guy didn't go anywhere, but he was pretty. He was pretty brave to get up in front of California Democrats and say that Medicare for all is a stupid plan.
Yeah, I remember that. He got booed.
That guy, regardless if a Republican or a Democrat's president, should make him a secretary of something.
Yeah, no, John Delaney is the kind of guy, kind of like a Joe Biden figure, where he can work with people of different backgrounds and stuff. I mean, when he went there and said, like, hey, look, grow up, this is unfeasible, he got booed. I remember watching the clip. He got booed, and it wasn't just like, oh, boo. It went on and on and on. It was like 45 or seconds or a minute of just straight booing by a bunch of like 19-year-old and 25-year-old Democratic socialists who probably have worked a total of 6 months in their entire lives,
And that's the thing about Bernie Sanders that people didn't really understand the primaries is, yeah, he's doing quite well, but it's because he taps into the type of base who shows up to those events to boo at someone for not liking Medicare for all. His base is actually not that wide, where I bet if Bernie Sanders ever ran as a nominee for the Democrats, he would probably be below Trump in the polls, simply because he appeals to a very dedicated Democrat, like a progressive base. But I don't think a lot of other people, not that people hate Bernie, I think a lot of people don't really know that much about him, but he doesn't really excite you unless you took anthropology in college.
No, that's so true. That's so true. And I really liked how John Delaney he really got under their skin. He really triggered them. I mean, they were in triggered mode for, like several weeks as a result of that, at least on Twitter from what I saw. But
Oh yeah, no, I saw that actually forever on Twitter. Up until the day he dropped out, they were just constantly telling John Delaney like, "Oh, you should drop out. You like leave it, like let a real Democrat, like only real Democrats should be running and whatnot." But
real real Democrats. The guy Bernie Sanders,
he
who
was a
he
Democrat only
he's
5 minutes ago to run for president, to
he
try and run
does
for
this all
president.
the time. He's an independent for his actual political career, and he's a Democratic socialist. And then when it's convenient to run for president, I'm going to register as a Democrat right now. He's obviously hijacking the party to try to gain legitimacy in a venue through which he can usurp power, essentially. Whereas, a Jill Stein type figure or whatnot, they're not going to do that. Like Jill Stein, I don't like Jill Stein.
He's an honest, crazy person.
Jill Stein is a joke, but at least you don't see Jill Stein out there trying to be like, hey, look, I'm a Democrat now. No, at least she's honest. She's like, I'm a radical Green Party person,
Yeah, and I think Bernie Sanders is a great case study for politicians where they have a certain appeal to their base, but everyone outside of that base just doesn't get it. It's not that they just don't like them; they just don't get it at all. They don't understand why people really like Bernie that much. It's like if you're a hyper progressive, maybe you're gonna like him, but a lot of people just see sort of like an old a rambling old man who's sort of obsessed with socialism and and failed communist states, and it's maybe they don't hate him, but it's like, really, this is the guy you like? And I think even if you like Andrew Yang's personality, I don't think that many people really got Andrew Yang. I still don't really get the appeal of Andrew Yang. The worst part of every single Democrat debate I watched was, oh, is Andrew Yang going to say talk for 30 seconds about giving everyone money again? Oh, that's cool. Like, now move to someone who's actually going to say something different.
Well, I know that there's a couple people kind of in the hot gang and stuff that are big fans of Andrew Yang. They think that Andrew Yang, the idea of the UBI and automation, that they're going to basically, if you coupled that with a hawkish foreign policy, you could get something that's really effective. For me, I'm against UBI, but I'm not against the kind of the spirit. I support a negative income tax. I want to get rid of the welfare state and replace it with something more efficient, less bureaucratic, and that doesn't penalize people in the same way that welfare will basically create cycles of poverty.
I supported
Because
Milton Friedman's version of UBI, where it essentially replaces a bunch of welfare programs.
yeah, well, he wanted
And it
negative income
streamlines
tax.
everything.
He didn't want UBI like Yang.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit they're similar but different. But yeah, I'm fine with a program like that. And even if you did a sort of UBI that replaces certain welfare programs, that's fine. I think what Andrew Yang failed at is he didn't understand enough of the other issues. So he was essentially running on UBI, but then he would incorporate other social programs into it that actually just ruined the point of UBI. The whole point of UBI is it's a very streamlined social program everyone's on, and then you don't need a bunch of others. But he's like, oh, also I'm for Medicare for all. Like, why? Just raise the amount of UBI you want everyone to have, and just who cares about these other stupid programs? Just give enough people enough money to have insurance.
Wyatt, a lot of people have been asking in the chat. A lot of people have been asking on Twitter. A lot of people have been asking in the Hot Gang chat, where's Reese? Well, I have an answer, everybody. I had told you, I'd actually tweeted out recently that Reese, our good friend, had actually died. He died as a result of laughter, and I linked the video in which Reese had died, where we read some tweets from Richard. But it turns out, no, he was brought back to life. He was revived. So here he is. How's it going, Reese?
A hawk cried a single tear onto Reese's grave, and he has returned.
He's returned.
I returned on this momentous occasion to quell the barrage of questions and Dragon Rozzy debate requests.
Yeah, but
I'm outside your house.
It can't be political, man. Like, we're gonna debate economics, but don't get political, bro.
We're gonna do a political show, but there will be no politics. It's gonna be a very avant-garde kind of political show. Very, very counterintuitive.
Oh man.
Anyway, I don't know. I saw the link. I decided to pop on. I'm assuming that, I saw you tweeted out, Kevin, and I'm sure you've already spoken about it because you've been on for an hour, but the Justice Ginsburg's passing. I haven't really been keeping up with a lot of stuff, so I honestly just found out about this, and I'm kind of, we all saw it coming, but it's still, It's still pretty shocking. Talk about the worst timing ever, basically. But
Well, yeah.
that's obviously not the most sensitive thing to say.
Well, the thing is, we did talk for about the first 30 minutes or so about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and about the politics of going forward as to, we both basically agreed, like Wyatt and I, that if Trump nominates somebody right now, it kind of signals that he thinks that Biden's probably going to win. But if he doesn't nominate somebody, then it's seen as like something to galvanize the Republican base to be like, hey, look, if you're an abortion voter or you're this kind of voter, well, here's your opportunity to go out and vote for Trump, basically. But what do you make of that? What do you think Trump's going to do? Do you think he's going to push a nominee through, or what's going to happen?
Well, this is with basically no exposure to what's going on. That's all. Those are good observations in terms of what we could read from it. I think that maybe, he's the kind of guy who likes to make campaign promises. So he might hold off on it. And I mean, but the thing is, while it would galvanize all of the evangelicals, I think it's going to have the opposite effect as well. I mean, it's going to galvanize people like me to be like, okay, fuck this guy. No, I don't care what's going on in major cities. I don't care about any of these issues I have with the left anymore. I don't care about BLM or SJWs. Fuck this guy. Get him out of office. This is unacceptable. So, and I'm pretty sure there's more people, honestly, in America who are along my line of thinking at this point. So I don't really know exactly how. I mean, Trump he utilizes evangelical rhetoric, but I would never view him as the evangelical candidate, and that's kind of a dying part of the U.S. political machine anyway. The Tea Party and all that. A big part of why Trump got the nomination was to kind of get away from that image in the first place.
He has the evangelical vote regardless. What I think, at very least, just having a seat open on the Supreme Court allows him to do is have sort of campaign promises. Because in 2016, he had the wall, he had a lot of other sort of like draining the swamp and like things that he could say that like he was like an actionable thing he could do, like I'm going to drain the swamp, where he doesn't really have anything else where he can't really talk like his whole law and order thing, although I can sort of imagine what he'd do on that. It doesn't really have a direct thing he'll do implied in the sort of calls for justice, like for like law enforcement and whatnot, where at least the Supreme Court gives him something very solid to talk about. Because he doesn't really like to be specific, so he can be very general, like, oh, there's a spot open on the Supreme Court, you better vote for us. Where when you're running on the like law and order, like now he has to come up with specific things he'll do, and he's not really good at that.
Yeah, that's true. This is definitely less nebulous than a lot of the other promises or proposed policies. This is something, and it's something that's also objectively within his power. Yeah, those other things he promised, yeah, he could accomplish them with an executive order, but they could just as easily be reversed. This is something that he enacts and is for life unless there's an impeachment. So I think he'll hold on. He'll hold off for now, but what he will do is he'll start introducing some names. So that's worth keeping an eye on. He's gonna bat around some names. Maybe that one crazy Christian lady will come back into the news. I know that he has kind of a thing for her.
Amy Coney Barrett, I think. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, I'm sure she'll be one of the names. I'm sure there'll be a couple other people, but yeah, that's what I'd keep an eye on. And I think you'll also hear, once the dust settles, I think Trump will say this first, but the Democrats will give it a little bit more time just to, let the family grieve and all that. And then they'll probably introduce some names too. Like, well, if we win, here's some ideas of who we think would be a good replacement. It's interesting because people obviously saw this coming for a long time, but I really, and then again, I have been kind of out of the loop, but I haven't heard a whole lot of names thrown around up until now. So
Yeah, me and Kevin agreed that they should probably keep the list pretty vague. Just have like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 names if you want, but it sort of gives everyone a Supreme Court justice to hope for and to come out and vote for in a certain like in the place of Trump. Like I'm not voting for Trump, I'm voting for like X person. So it sort of almost helps get suburban women to vote for him because now Trump's not technically running in a certain sense for them.
oh yeah, no, you could. They pretty much become. It's kind of a shocking way we do this. I'm not really sure if I agree with it because it makes the judges. They're supposed to be impartial. They're supposed to be apolitical to an extent, and they become such an extension of the presidential elections. And I think that it really undermines the point of them. And I mean, yeah, we can say, oh, well, the people in there, they're obviously very qualified and they know the law like the back of their hand. But really, the reason any of them are there is inherently political. Sorry, Dragon Razi, but it is. It's political. The reason any of them are there is 100% political. And I think that fundamentally goes against. I see it as a pretty big institutional failure for the country. That was clearly not the point, but it just worked out that way. And we leave it. we leave, kind of the, I obviously know, I know they have to be voted on, but we leave picking them up to one person. The amount of power the president wields is pretty extraordinary in that sense. And that coupled with lifelong terms, it strays further and further away from a democratic system I would prefer the more I think about it. But it is what it is. You have to work within the system. But
Well, Reese, I wanted to gauge your opinion on this, though, because Wyatt and I were talking, and we also both kind of agreed on, at least within this system. We didn't really get into talking about outside of this system or alternatives, so that within what we have right now, to me, I always found the idea, when McConnell said before, it's going to be about a year until the election, so we should let the voters decide and not do anything yet. Or now they're going to say we should wait until the election. Now, granted, it's a lot closer, but of course, Wyatt also made a good point, though, that even if you did go through with the nomination before, the Republicans controlled the Senate, so it was kind of immaterial back then. But I wanted to get your view on this, though, that for me, I think that regardless of who the president is in charge, we either have a threshold or a line with 4 years or we don't. Like, do you get to say that it's illegitimate if you're picking somebody 6 months before an election or 8 months before an election or 2 months before an election? It seems to me like people should just agree that you have consequences in an election, and whoever wins, like, it's the president's job to pick nominees. So it's like, you should probably vote if you don't like it, basically, is kind of the idea, instead of complain later. That's kind of my idea on that. But
oh yeah, no, for sure. And people will complain about that when the timing is inconvenient, like in this case. But that's why you always have to be prepared. You always have to really strive to have the kind of representation that you could sleep soundly with. I don't think we have that currently. I think that there are millions of people who agree with my assessment. And, a lot of them did a lot of complaining. They could have done more 4 years ago. That's all I'll say. I know I've complained about that a lot. I'm gonna give it a rest because I'm just not really in the mood at the moment to attack the left. I've done it a lot recently, and I've said my piece, and it's heartbreaking after a while. It's heartbreaking because you see so much potential, and you don't want there to be bad blood, but it's inevitable at the end of the day. And ultimately, there are bigger problems in this country at least in my opinion. I
Right.
think now, granted, it's going to be different in Canada, but Canada is a radically different country than America. America is a very, very divided nation, more divided now than it's been in a long time. And this doesn't help. Something like this very much doesn't help. And
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be this way, but it is. And I accept that.
To kind of put it into perspective for the viewers, because I know only about 1% of the audience or 1 to 2% of the audience is actually Canadian each month. For most people that are outside of Canadian politics, you can kind of think of our Conservative Party here, most of the Conservative Party, as kind of where Joe Biden is in the Democrats-ish. Like,
that's proof that Joe Biden is a conservative, sir.
Like we're just to the left of America, just in the Overton window. Like there's an NDP here that's to the left of the Liberals, to the left of Trudeau, and they're literally like every single one of them is like a Bernie bro, like unironically, like the entire party.
And then there's the Green Party, which is just Bernie bros if they were married to Jill Stein.
Yes. It's like it keeps going lefter and lefter and lefter. I mean,
yeah, like the Conservative Party will never touch universal health care. Even the People's Party of Canada, which is sort of, I would consider, I guess, the paleocon populist party, they won't touch the Canadian healthcare system.
Yeah, so like there's a bit of a difference then between like what conservatism is in Canada and liberalism is in Canada versus like in the United States spectrum. In the United States spectrum, Reese, though, you're right to point out that it's, you know, in some ways it's even more divided, even more polarized in that sense, because I would say that the Democrats and Republicans right now are probably more polarized than the conservatives and liberals are in Canada in a lot of ways. But
absolutely. It's not helped by a lot of things. It's not helped by a lot of people on the left, you know, striving to be their version of what they think Norway is, and it's really not what Norway is. It's not helped by the paleoconservative radicalism that we've seen within the Republican Party. There was a point, you know. I know, like, anytime I talk about this, because I talked about this for the longest time, when I really first started talking about politics on YouTube, it was mostly coming from a left-wing perspective, and I was mostly critical of people on the right. And, you know, that will get you labeled all kinds of things. You're a shill, a cock, a libtard, whatever name they want to. And it's water up a duck's back for the most part. I don't care what a bunch of InfoWars viewers have to say at the end of the day, but it's silly. It really is silly. I think that there's a lot that could be done for the divide. And so when I'm criticizing, you know, I obviously have a lot of criticisms of the Republican Party and of right-wing politics, but I think that those criticisms, they've increased over time because the party radically changed. There was a point when I thought the party was respectable, and, you know, I couldn't vote, but I have said in the past, I would have voted for Bush Jr., probably Bush Sr., but, you know, I didn't like him as much because he was kind of a realist. But, you know, I would have voted for Bush Jr. I would have voted for McCain, obviously. I would have voted for Romney. And that's not to say that I even really dislike Obama. I think he's kind of a mixed bag at the end of the day. But I just preferred the other guys on issues that I deemed more important. But
Right now, I think if we all went through the United States and we all had to go through every single congressional race and pick who we'd want to win, it would probably be a mixed bag among all three of us, of a mixture of Democrats and Republicans that we like. It wouldn't just be I am a Democrat or I'm a Republican.
Yeah. And that's kind of it's very unhealthy partisanship that you'll see. And I'm definitely not someone who would, so I'd basically never be someone who said, you know, vote blue no matter who. I don't really necessarily agree with that. I agree with that in terms of this election to an extent, because there's really only a handful of people who I was like, that person's obviously worse. But for the most part, they were inoffensive, and the ones that I didn't like had no hope of making it that far anyway. So I felt pretty secure in that position, but it's just out of control right now. It's embarrassing. It's just not. It's not a preferred situation. The current representation that we have, and I think that we can do better. I think that we can have an administration that cares about a global pandemic, that cares about the welfare of our people. That would be nice. That would be nice to have. I think I would sleep better with that knowledge. There's a reason that I haven't really been engaging a lot because it's so depressing. Like, and I have so much going on regardless. The last thing I want to do is hop on Twitter, see what's trending, and just be like, oh,
Well, we could probably just tell you about a situation that happened, or just a scenario, and you could just guess what each side said about it, what the Democrats and the Republicans said, and you'd probably be right 99 times out of 100.
And don't give me credit for that because they're so predictable, basically.
Oh no,
don't think I'm Nostradamus.
No,
I'm not Nostradamus.
No, Nostradamus. The bong is never wrong. Billy Bong's always like, you know, that guy is he is a seer into the future. That guy, I had him on the other day on the anniversary of 9/11, and we talked. That was an interesting conversation. Everybody
he has an on the ground experience with that.
4 blocks away when it happened, and so it was interesting to talk with Billy Bong. But I wanted to say though, on the partisan hackery, the most egregious example that comes to mind of this that's just such a joke to me is how when Donald Trump ordered the strike on Soleimani, there was a poll taken afterwards that found that only about 6% of Democrats thought that it was the right thing for Trump to do. Oh. And imagine if Obama did that strike, it would have been 96%. Like, it would have been like with bin Laden. And except with bin Laden, even a lot of Republicans gave Obama credit for that. So it's gotten worse. It's gotten a lot worse because the obvious correct thing to do, he killed at the time, back when Soleimani was alive in his final day, he was the most deadly terrorist in the world. He was responsible for being in charge of the deaths of around 400,000 or so people in the region. And Donald Trump took him out. But the orange man signed the order. So it was the wrong thing to do, you know?
I think it's, and I agree with that. I totally do. I think it's very easy to highlight Trump derangement syndrome and things of that sort, and that hyper partisanship. I'm looking at that from the other angle, though. I know this is something I've talked about before. I believe it's something I've heard Henry talk about before. Donald Trump is so toxic. He absolutely evaporates support for things that should be getting universal support. And, to a certain extent, I do obviously criticize just very unthinking cult-like partisanship. But at some point, you look at the source of division, and you really have to ask yourself, is this the best step forward? I'm all for someone being, someone having convictions, but ultimately the president should be diplomatic to a certain extent and be able to win over people to their side, people who normally wouldn't be on their side. For all his faults, I think you could say that about Reagan. A lot of people like to pick on Reagan now, but Reagan was a unifier. Reagan was a diplomat. George W. Bush, he won over people to support stronger immigration policies. He did more for our immigration situation.
The only thing I would say is that, like, Trump is toxic. I think half the problem these days of like half the hyper polarization with the Democrats is his fault, and then I think half the problem was sort of already there when he was elected. Since I don't think if there was President Ted Cruz that if he killed Soleimani, I think that there would still probably be about 6, maybe 10% approval with the Democrats for that action, because I think the Democrats have I think the Democrats honestly have become a little bit more hyper partisan than the Republicans over time. Not because I think I think the Republicans definitely have the more annoying base. I can sort of put up with Bernie Bros because they eventually go away, but the paleo cons I find are more obnoxious. Maybe it's because I'm more on the right, so I have to deal with them more often.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of Republicans who are very bland Republicans that don't sort of engage in politics at such a hyper partisan level. Where I think over time you've seen Democrats where every single Democrat or a lot of Democrats I find are very hyper partisan Democrats wherever they're located. There's never like a Democrat who's like, yeah, well, I'm okay with that thing that Trump did. It's like almost a rarity to find someone who will sort of like be a good referee in the sense that they sort of like certain things and they don't like other things.
Well,
no, it's not politically beneficial to be a centrist on Capitol Hill. It's just not. It doesn't help your career. I can see the point about Ted Cruz, but the thing is, and granted, I would disagree if there was any kind of Ted Cruz derangement syndrome if he killed Soleimani. Obviously, I'd be in support of that, and I think that he would be more likely to support that action or an action similar to that than Trump. I would gladly vote for him over Trump on the basis just of that issue. But I would also understand people seeing Ted Cruz as not extremely diplomatic, as a source of division. There's a reason people don't like him, and it's because of how many statements and positions that he's taken over the course of his career.
Oh, and I think people don't realize that a lot of people, if they met Trump personally and he was not the Republican president, they probably wouldn't like him on a personal level. If you removed all the celebrity from him, if you take all that away, he's definitely a toxic person, and I understand that. Even if I would maybe vote for the guy, I understand that the detrimental part of him is that he sort of hurts the Republican brand. I maybe disagree with how much he hurts it, because I think some people sort of separate Trump from the Republican Party where they see him as his own thing. But he definitely does. Everyone always sort of like mirrors the president's personality onto the party he represents, because they're a bit lazy and they just like to think of all the Democrats as Obama and all the Republicans as whoever the Republican leader is at the time.
I don't think he's going to hurt the brand for anyone who would, normally support it. Yeah, it's gonna hurt the brand for people like me who have the will to cross over from time to time. And do I really want to be supportive with that? Yeah, because they were running around with Trump. But it really depends on the politician. I think for most people who support the GOP now, it doesn't matter. They have a few number of convictions, and Trump could do anything.
I'm thinking more so like in terms of like suburban women, in that after Trump is gone, I think a lot of Republican leaders afterwards are going to have to basically go and prove like, hey, I'm not a weirdo every single time. Like, I'm not offensive and you wouldn't kick me out of a dinner party if you hosted me.
I mean, the thing is, it really depends on the voter in question. I don't think that based on the support of Trump and the embracing of Trump that we saw from so many of these voters, I'm just led to believe that ultimately at the end of the day, they either don't care about the misogyny or there's things that they care about more than the misogyny. So even if they're women, well, I think that there's a lot of women who quite frankly don't give a fuck about misogyny, and that maybe says something about them, but it is what it is. And I'm the next Republican nominee. I know that a lot of people want it to be Nikki Haley. It's probably not going to be Nikki Haley. I'm sorry. I know that Richard Smith wants it to be Nikki Haley.
Wait, that makes you a hater. That makes you a Nikki Haley.
That makes me a hater.
Nikki Haley hater with a trademark at the end.
I would love it. I would love it to be her. She's kind of, in my mind, she's between Bolton and Pompeo in terms of her track record on a lot of these issues. I think that for the most part, in terms of issues that I would care about, she's mostly fine, but she will bend if Trump pressures her, if the GOP pressures her, if you get more of a paleoconservative bias influencing the GOP and more of a Tucker Carlson bias yeah, she'll probably kowtow to that a little bit, which is unfortunate. But no, the next person.
And I think people have to realize that the reason some politicians are popular is because they're populists, which is not usually a good outlook for them keeping their current positions. And Nikki Haley, I think, is more principled than a lot of populists, but she does have a bit of a populist stream running through her.
What's popular changes all the time.
I was making the point on a recent stream, I forget which one it was, but I was arguing that one of the things why Reagan was so great as a president was that he was able to kind of forge a consensus of different areas that you get control over, where basically the neocons got foreign policy as their domain and the paleocons got the social agenda as their domain, and he kind of united those two together. I could see somebody like Nikki Haley doing that, where she'll have like the Tucker Carlson talking points on like, BLM or say unions, that kind of stuff, where basically the paleocons will have more of the domestic sort of thing, but that on foreign policy, she'll listen to the generals and actually get tough on Iran and North Korea and China and stuff. That would kind of be my optimistic sort of view. But
I could see someone like Nikki Haley potentially, if she wasn't going to just pander to what's currently popular, is that maybe she's a popular enough figure that if she was ever president, she could sort of ignore the paleocons call that, like, oh, why are we involved in the world at all? And then she could sort of couch it in a certain sense. I think actually this is just smart for any neocon to do, or any sort of hawkish type person, is sort of represent you being involved in different foreign wars and stuff like that, as I'm like taking at our enemies, where people sort of always represent military action in this very boring way, like, oh, well, we're trying to securitize the Middle East and whatnot. It's like, just say like, hey, we just want to go kick Iran's ass, and I think people would actually go for it if people were a bit more simplistic and dumb about it.
Oh man,
that's a suggestion.
We've got somebody in the chat right now, not necessarily right now, but I've seen him here tonight. He's fuming and dooming. He's one of the haters and traitors posting cringe. He posted this on my stream yesterday with Anthony Roberto. He posted this a little while ago today. Deep state is paying you. And you is
how much?
He's arguing that Ronald Reagan is the perpetrator of war crimes. I think it was Zayas or Nicholas asked him which war crime, and he said, what did he say? Not providing aid to people with AIDS in Africa. And Zayas is like, lol, sick war crime, bro. Like, that was not a war crime.
Why is Kevin raising money to buy a PC when supposedly John Bolton giving him money?
wait. How did it take like months of saving up money from the patrons and the PayPal tippers to get this new PC I got on the floor beside me? I haven't hooked it up yet. We're getting the peripherals set up tomorrow. How did it take months to get that together when, like, isn't the deep state giving contracts and stuff to like Raytheon for like billions of dollars and shit? Like, really, they can't hook me up with like a liquid cooled RDX 2080.
I know someone who could hook you up with a school computer. I'm just saying.
Well, okay, that raises an interesting question. Does anybody know? Has anybody checked in on him yet? Has Ian Stevens actually got access to a school computer? Because it's been 2 months.
Well, I mean, his assignments are piling up at this point.
Unless he's writing his articles and assignments on a calculator.
Oh man.
Well, it's more impressive than me writing boobs on the calculator, so I'll give him that.
Wait, well, this pro thing guy, this guy who says I'm a deep state shill, he doesn't like Henry Kissinger, so he calls him Henry Kissing. He says he started genocide in East Pakistan. Yeah, dude, we criticized him for that, dude.
So like, clueless. So
dude,
absolutely
we're not
clueless.
Henry Kissinger fans here, dude. Like he thinks everybody who's like to the right of, well, I was going to say Bernie, but he looks like more of a Tucker Carlson guy. Everybody to the right of Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson is basically a democratic socialist with paleo-conservative characteristics at this point.
Aesthetics. Paleo-conservative aesthetics.
It's like he's either left-wing with paleo-conservative characteristics or he's right-wing with Bernie charteristics.
I like what he said. I like what he said back here. He said, we lock up people who expose war crimes, not the people who commit them. This is probably I assume like he means Assange.
That's Henry's here. Henry's here. Yo, how's it going, Henry?
He's really building up the drama.
Wait,
We ain't hearing you, bro.
we can't hear you. Is there an audio problem? I know I had an audio problem earlier. Hopefully that's going away now that the new PC is going to be ready shortly. So,
The school computer.
wait, is it Henry or is it like Ian Stevens, but he can't figure out how to access the computer lab?
Is it Dylan Meisner?
Is
not
it
Meisner,
Millsrow?
No, Millsrow. There you go.
Oh no,
Sorry,
his
Jackie
mic's
Millsrow.
muted. No, dude, Henry, if you can hear us, your mic's muted. That's got to be the issue. I can see it in the icon. His mic's muted.
I think he just muted it a second ago. I think he's sorting something out.
He'll figure it out. I
Maybe
trust him.
He's just getting a better seat. He's just listening.
I like to be here. I like to listen up close and personal.
Wait, is this a troll? Ahmadinejad exposed the truth. Oh, so like this is probably the Jewish question stuff, right? Like the Iranian.
No.
Oh, God.
The truth, bro. It's like, wait, okay, so there's so much going on in this image here. The guy's a fan of Trump, but he's defending one of the boys, the water boys for the Ayatollah of Iran. Donald Trump, not really too much a fan of Iran. So
Yeah.
what's the deal?
Very, very strange.
If you're a big enough paleocon or isolationist to come on this stream and start criticizing people with the Trump icon, I don't think that you fully understand Trump's foreign policy. Like we don't love it, but you probably shouldn't like it either.
Yeah, like Donald Trump has done some stuff. Like he bombed the Shayrat air base in Syria. He obviously pulled out of the stupid Iran deal, which I know a lot of people are they're so in love with on Twitter and want to go back to, which is just
he killed Soleimani.
Yeah, and he killed Soleimani. We were talking about that. He killed Soleimani, and only 6% of Democrats supported it, which is ridiculous and goes to show just how partisan and polarized everything is now. But this guy defends the Iran deal. So like, I can't tell. Is he like socked Twitter?
No. His previous comment doesn't even make sense. What?
Yeah, he's fucking with you.
The second one, yeah. I don't know,
Everyone's a troll in your mind.
That's always my go-to because that's what I would do. I mean, that's like my mindset. Is like how would I fuck with this stream?
Yeah, maybe it's just because you're a really good troll though, where you're basically you're almost exactly what someone out unhinged would say.
Wait, but there are these people. We know these people exist. They wear like Q badges and like put a big Q around them and go to like rallies and stuff and talk about how the deep state and the Jews are basically doing the wars for oil and stuff and how.
Yeah. I am typically wrong. Like more often than not, the people I think are trolls are actually serious. So.
Oh, I think they've just moved beyond parody in the last year. I've noticed.
Well, Nicholas is saying this is a troll. The ideology is getting inconsistent now. But I was pointing out that no, it's consistent. He's a Bernie Sanders Republican with paleo-conservative characteristics. That's basically where he's at. It's kind of like that meme. I'm a John Bolton Democrat. You're a Bernie Sanders Republican. We agree to disagree. It's like that meme.
If inconsistency is evidence of trolling, then half of Twitter is canceled immediately. Like really.
Oh man.
Some people are just stupid, honestly. Like maybe they support Trump and they disagree with his Zionist influences.
Okay,
But
now
they like the other things.
Now I think
Deep state is paying you. Military-industrial complex is paying you.
Now I think he's trolling because he said Israel and Saudi Arabia did 9/11.
No, but there's a ton of people out there that actually believe this.
They do, but I feel like they usually pick one or the other.
Yeah, and you get the picture and everything. It's too perfect, man.
I don't know. It's like it could be and it can't be at the same time. Honestly,
9/11.
I had this happen the other day. I was on a evangelical Christian guy's stream, and there was a Muslim dude that had called in. I was like, no fucking way. I was like, that guy's a fucking troll. It's bullshit. And then, like, as it went on, like, he kind of convinced me, like, oh no, that guy was serious. Then after the fact, no, the dude was a fucking troll. Like, this shit does happen. Like, there are people.
I think I know the streamer you're talking about because I think I just saw him today, just incidentally. He was talking about like Islamic relief worldwide and funding terrorist organizations.
Well, it was Smokey Saint. It's a very small channel, so probably.
Oh,
I don't think you would have seen it.
Does debates a lot.
No, yeah, I don't get on to big streams, so.
Okay.
Oh, shots fired. No, we're not a big stream yet, but things are going to change. We got to do
I didn't mean it against you, Kevin. That was a shot at you. I'm just
Burn.
Burn.
I go on to other streams as well, but they're smaller than you. Well, actually, no. Actually, it was a bigger channel than you. Actually.
Wait, how many subs? How many subs?
It was like 450 or something like that.
Okay, well, I got 2,700 followers on my meme page, so there's that.
Okay.
There's that. So
I wonder how many of those people just follow your meme page just to like say that they hate your meme page. Every time that you post something, immediately there's like 10 comments of someone saying like delete this page.
Yeah, no, oftentimes I'll like post like links to the stream or I'll post memes and stuff. And there's always, there's a few of them. There's some regulars. There's this Stanley guy who hates Jews. He always tells me, he says, like STFU or like stop posting or whatever. And I'm like, why are you following and why do you like this page? Like, because I posted a meme, I think the other day. I had a meme. I got a meme right here. Maybe you guys will get a kick out of this one, but I've been having a lot of fun recently playing around with the hashtag just girly things meme format. So we got hashtag just nuke build things. We got completely destroying the enemy's ability to retaliate. Hashtag just nuke build things. And it's got like the font and everything. Yeah, a lot of people, they got triggered by that for sure. So,
at least on Facebook, you kind of have to. Well, you give a little bit of credit, but you also have to question the intelligence of people who post their stupid shit with their real identity attached.
Yeah.
Like, here's my name, here's my face. Fuck the Jews. Okay, good luck with that, I guess. At least the people. At least the people on the Groiper app.
Yeah, we've had a number of people on there say stuff that's just, the sort of stuff that basically, like Holodomor apologetics, praising Stalin, this kind of stuff. And then you look at their profile, they're not using anime avatars like on Twitter. It's like their actual account, their actual profile, and you can see where they work and stuff. And you're like, dude,
You're fired.
Imagine. Well, no, you wouldn't get fired though, because you you do actually call that guy's employer and you say, hey, he defended the Holodomor. He said that it was good, that they deserved to die or whatever. And the boss would be like, what the hell is the Holodomor? Because everybody knows about the Holocaust.
That's what he would say.
Hardly anybody knows about what the Soviets did, and they killed just as many people in like 2 years. But nobody cares. Oh, because they were an ally and they fought Hitler, bro. They fought Hitler, as if that makes you a good guy.
Hey man, but remember Stalin, he had good intentions. Remember?
Yeah, good intentions.
Remember that conversation we had?
Oh god.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Well, this is just some other random thing I remember from the other day. I wrote some article comparing Georgia and Israel's geopolitical situation, and I posted it to some sort of Georgian page where a lot of like Americans and UK people live there, and they just sort of share random content about Georgia. And a bunch of UK sort of EU supporters started like criticizing the article, like Georgia's not an apartheid state, like that was their criticism of it. Or they would say that or they would say, disagree. It's like, actually, Georgia is a fantastic ally of Turkey. I'm not sure that you understand that they don't really like getting too warm with Turkey. I understand that you like your cheap Turkish goods while you're in Georgia, but dude, settle down. Do you know anything about Erdogan? And then a bunch of, luckily enough, in that Facebook group I posted it, a bunch of Iranians stepped in and told these people they didn't know what they were talking about.
We got some amazing comments in the chat right now. By the way, everybody should go over to the National Telegraph and read that piece by Wyatt. I read it. It's really good. everybody knows that Israel is under, complete threat and bullied and been invaded multiple times by its neighbors. Well, it's this bastion of freedom. But hardly anybody knows about Georgia and how Georgia was helping out in Iraq at the same time as fighting off Russia. And they won on both fronts, which is incredible because they're a small country. They belong in NATO. But we do have a comment in here right now by that same hater and traitor. He says, media want war with Iran for oil 1953. So at this point, it's just sentence fragments.
Okay, no, this is a troll. Or English is their fourth language.
He says Kurd genocide. He says Kurd genocide.
Yeah, how much more evidence do you guys need? Obviously, yeah.
Everyone, yeah. Although usually it's correct that the person's not a troll.
No, okay, this guy's okay. I know this guy's a troll now. He says RT, Telazur, and Gray Zone are real news.
Okay, fair enough. You did
that might even be Suzuki. Okay, is that Suzuki? Like having enough?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably someone you know. Like it's too like.
Suzuki made that parody account of the Gray Zone of the Gray Zone over on Twitter, the Gray Zone, where they say stuff like how tons of stuff is like deep state neocon lies and stuff, and how like Saddam was good and everything. But W.R. Winter says Stalin was the good guy for fighting Hitler. Maybe try the other way around. See how that works.
Oh God.
But Stalin had good intentions. It's like you say the same thing about Hitler. It's like, oh, he had good intentions. It's like, I mean
the conversation we had, it went way beyond he fought the Nazis. It went into, his policies, what he was attempting to accomplish in the Soviet Union had good intentions, goodwill behind it, and that's blatantly untrue.
And the thing that for that to be true, you'd have to assume that Stalin was like locked in his office and was unable to actually get any news from any part of Russia on how his policies were going.
Well, yeah,
his policies were
the
not
Russian neocons were the whole time.
It was Bolton's fault.
Rodney here.
He was there.
Oh, Rodney says, "Don't feed the pigeons." Lol.
Hey man, you can feed the pigeons. Just make sure the seed is poisoned. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, because who's winning here? We got 17 views right now. We got some people on Twitch. We got some people on YouTube. And we got this guy here, fuming and dooming, saying if neocons never existed, the world would be at peace. Yeah, maybe because the Soviet Union would take over the world and the world would just be one giant gulag. I guess that would be
I suppose that's peace.
It's peace.
That's sort of.
So just circling back to the whole Ruth Bader Ginsburg death thing. Man, is like Twitter's literally every single hashtag pretty much in the top 10 has to do with her, and every single like trending.
I was wondering about this with her dying. Do you think there's going to be an attempt to like appoint a new justice like before the election?
Yeah, what me and Kevin had sort of agreed on is that I think what the Republicans will probably hold off, not only just so that they don't get hit for hypocrisy because of last time, even though it's
that's what I was.
Even though it's not technically hypocrisy, because Obama didn't even have the power to have his like appointed judge or his nominated judge actually get through, since he had no control over the Senate at that point.
Yeah.
But it's probably just also good to as an incentive to your voters to.
It seemed like the arguments they were making last time around were like, there's no way they could like that quickly like turn around and say, oh, we've got to wait for the outcome of the election or whatever. Like, I don't think they like. I feel like the Republicans are not going to make an issue out of it, and I also think that they believe Trump will be reelected. So, I don't see the benefit of it. Like, it seems like you would have to do, and I've been curious about this because there's the opportunity there to do such a 180 on both sides, to where you have the Democrats saying, oh no, they can't appoint this justice because the election's coming up, and the Republicans saying, well, no, but the authority to appoint the justice lies with the president. So it's kind of a curious thing, except that last time I do believe when this was an issue, it was much further out from the election. I think it was almost a year before.
Yeah. Kevin also said, like, back when none of us were on the stream with him, that it's sort of dumb that we draw these strange lines around when you can nominate people and not. Kevin explains better, though.
Well, yeah, I was just basically saying how I think that just as a matter of consistency, I think that as a norm, if you could somehow establish it, it would make more sense to just have an understanding of the social contract to say, you know, when you vote for a president, they get 4 years, and whether it's 3.5 years out or 1 day out, they get to nominate who they nominate. I mean, that's their job. And so this idea that, oh, it's 0.6 years away, or it's 1.2 years away, or it's 0.4 years away, it's too close, bro. It's like to try to delegitimize it.
It's too soon.
Right. But I mean, it comes down because it has to get confirmed through the Senate, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, so with the Obama thing, like, he was never going to get anyone pushed through. I think he tried. Was it a moderate or Republican? I think he tried to like push through right before the end.
What you would maybe call them center left, I would say, is that they would maybe be like a typical Democrat pick, but it wasn't someone that you would maybe imagine that.
Yeah, it was a centrist.
It wasn't Obama's dream pick by any.
No.
Because he would have probably picked Ginsburg number 2.
We have somebody, and I guess we have a fan in the chat right now, Richard Smith. He's got obviously Nikki Haley, and then he's got in the background a portrait of Nikki Haley with the dog.
Is that the guy from Twitter?
I have my doubts as to whether or not that's actually Richard Smith, but
I doubt it.
Channel spawns the most niche inside jokes ever.
No, that's an inside joke, man. I was telling people before, right as Reese came on, I said, I'm like, people have been asking, where's Reese? It's been the talk of the town in the Hawk chat, in this chat, on Twitter. Where's Reese? And I'm like, look, Reese is dead. He died of laughter. You can go and watch the video where we go over Richard Smith's tweets. Well,
he took a sabbatical. I mean, obviously.
Well, yeah, he died of laughter. He literally died.
I did see that. All I could think was that bastard.
Oh man!
Yeah, that sounds very in character for me. A sabbatical.
But here we have Richard Smith right here. Bentley is a very cute dog. Times 52 times on Twitter, like the same tweet except different days. He knew it was a male dog. He knew. And that's never not funny to me, dude. Okay. I watched just the other day. I was kind of bored. I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna watch? This will cheer me up. I'm gonna watch Reese and us dying of laughter as we read Insanity from Richard Smith. And that's a funny video. Everybody go check out that video on my channel, Dying of Laughter. You don't have to watch the whole 4-hour stream or whatever. Just that 6-minute clip is gold. It's just gold. And this account right here, that's a reference to that. There's no way that's actually him. That's a troll. Like, but you know, good inside meme there. That one's good. So
I like the idea that people make accounts related to inside jokes. To the channel.
Like 15 people are gonna see.
Oh no, there's no way. Like, look at his comments, man. and then we also had gold earlier. I wanted to talk about this, but we had, obviously stuff to talk about. But this guy, this hater and traitor here, he said about John Bolton. He says John Bolton is a war criminal. Capital H, capital E. So, reverence towards John Bolton. Funny, but I appreciate it. Left the ICC. And then Nicholas asks, why do you capitalize he but not ICC? And Pro Thing says, I'm in a hurry. Then why are you here then?
Look, if you're in a hurry, you're watching the wrong stream. I just have to say.
When I say that we're going to wrap up the stream soon, which we're not,
that means 2 hours left.
It means it's 2 hours from the end point. We're not even there yet, bro.
Yeah.
Man, I'm in a hurry. If you're in a hurry, you wouldn't post a comment and you wouldn't respond to the comment.
Oh man. Oh, we got another one here. Leaf Zombie says Belarus. I'm not sure who brought up Belarus. Belarus is a good country. Imperialist USA is trying to do a coup. Russia needs to be more hawkish and take over immediately.
Oh my god.
Troll thinks as agrees on.
I like to think it's the same troll operating 3 different accounts.
3 different socks. Yeah,
well, it's not unthinkable. Something I would do, but
it probably is you.
Yeah, it could be. That's
we're gonna hear some clacking.
You get into someone's chat and you have multiple accounts arguing with one another.
Neil says we need more right-wing dictatorships.
Okay, this is a random point I wanted to make earlier about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and this isn't to blame her. I'm just trying to circle back to this. There's no really good way of me bringing this up, but although it's like, yeah, tragedy, she died and whatnot, I'm not blaming her for any of this, but it's like, sort of, it's the good in light of her dying. The stupid cult that's kind of risen up around her is going to have to go away. Because that was getting insufferable.
Yeah, I think that is going to follow anyone of political note, really.
Yeah,
but,
she was a flawless woman, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like she was probably a fine person or whatever, and I'm not blaming her for the cult that rises.
I don't really know that much about her, other than she was left wing, and
Yeah, I did not understand the appeal. Where I think it just made people dumber because they like idolized her without understanding her like philosophy for making decisions on the Supreme Court.
They appreciate the representation, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna dip out, guys. I'll catch y'all later.
Yo, have a good night. Thanks for coming on, Henry.
You're gonna dip out and then make 2 more accounts to troll.
Yeah. I gotta troll. I gotta make some more troll accounts.
It's hard for her to cover up the sound of typing.
It's difficult to talk on here while I'm trying to manage my sock accounts.
I understand. Totally.
It's hard.
Good luck with that, man.
All right. Good night, guys.
Oh man, we got.
Yeah, good night. Yeah, he's gonna be lurking around. We know.
Oh man,
we know the truth.
Yeah, we know the truth. Well, you know who knows the truth? You know who knows the truth? Ahmadinejad knew the truth. I'm in a hurry. Wait, he's arguing he's in a hurry again. He said that 20 minutes ago. They asked him here. Nicholas says autocorrect has to come in at some point, right? How do you get away with misspelling Taiwan? And he says here, this is 2 minutes ago. I'm in a hurry.
Well, Henry was in a hurry. He just had to leave.
Yeah, he's in a hurry. Yeah, he says, I don't know about Saddam. He gassed poor kids in Iran, and then he says, oh man. Yeah, Leaf Zombie says USA invaded Iraq for oil. Saddam was a hero. Like, the thing is, those are trolls, but we know that there are actual people out here that would unironically post that. So,
oh yeah, no, I would just be surprised to see them in this chat, really.
Well, they sometimes show up. I feel like a lot of these people, because of their very simplistic understanding, not even understanding, their very simplistic misunderstanding of the world, that they assume that, I'm gonna break into their chat and I'm gonna say that the Iraq war was bad and it was for oil and oil's bad, and everyone's like, this guy has a point.
I was just waiting for someone to say it, man.
Dude, this guy's really talking to my heart.
Yeah, as if I haven't heard those talking points my entire life. If you grow up as being like the generation of kids, you remember 9/11, you remember when Bush was president. You've heard all this before. You've heard it all. You couldn't escape it. So I'm not being told anything new, and people think that they're so profound when they're really full of shit.
I had a guy the other day. Actually, it was like a month ago, but just some random conservative sort of intern type guy. He probably wasn't an intern, but just some random paleocon in the Canadian Conservative Party. And I was just talking about sort of neoconservative foreign policy, and they were all like dumbfounded that anyone would be arguing for that. And I was like, well, why? What's your argument for keeping Assad in power? And he said, I'm against murder.
Well, that's ironic.
Yeah, because he basically said, do you know how many people died in whatever war? And I'm like, do you know how many people died in that regime during quote unquote peaceful times on a regular basis?
Yeah, these talking points are such bullshit because the wars that people look back on with rose-tinted glasses and they say, well, of course I supported that military venture. Even total dipshits like Mills Rowe, they support the Allied powers' actions against the Nazis, which were, the deaths that resulted from that were much greater. There was much less of a concern for, civilian welfare. In fact, that was kind of one of the features of a war like that. When you're battling nation states like Germany and Japan, you can target the populace, and that will actually put pressure on the state. If you targeted the Syrian populace, Assad will probably just send you a thank you letter. Like, okay, that's what I was gonna get to him eventually. So basically, I'm so tired of hearing about, the horrible casualties of war. The casualties of modern war are a drop in the fucking ocean. It is such nonsense to complain about this. And then they want to complain about Iraq. The majority of casualties caused by Iranian insurgents and Saddam's state. A very small portion caused by the U.S. coalition, of which the majority obviously were collateral damage. And then people will feign ignorant, like, oh, I don't understand the difference. I'm against murder. I'm just against killing across the board. I can't see the difference between Assad gassing kids and collateral damage from the U.S. coalition. It's just, it's death. It's all just death.
It's an endorsement of taking hostages. That if I take a hostage and put a gun to their head, it's your fault if I shoot them.
Well, see, and really, if you're against murder, you should just let me do what I was gonna do. Let me rob this bank.
Technically, I'm trying to enslave multiple generations of families, but think about it. I might shoot this person in the head if you stop this abuse from happening today.
Yeah, well, I've had people try to tell me that Assad couldn't kill anybody because he was too squeamish about blood. That medical school when he was at medical school, and this is true. When he was at medical school in London, he decided to become an ophthalmologist because he didn't want to deal with like surgery and blood and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but like you're aware that when I say Bashar the Butcher, I'm not saying he's literally going around and driving to every village and city in Syria and like killing people by hand. He like has other people do that. That's kind of the point. But these people are insane, man. It's like, obviously he's not the one doing the butchering directly. He has henchcocks that work for him.
He doesn't like blood. That's why he gasses people.
Yeah, no blood. Oh man.
I mean, you could make that argument for anyone. Next time they accuse someone of being a war criminal, I'll just say no, they don't like blood, so they can't be.
They can't be.
John Bolton is very squeamish around blood, so he can't be a war criminal.
Dude,
Facts.
Prince Andrew isn't a pedophile. He doesn't sweat.
Oh, this guy admits, this guy in the chat, he's a bit different than the typical groypers that deny the gas attack. He says, Assad kills ISIS. Who cares if he gassed kids? He saved the country. Well, at least
hey, man.
He's honest.
All those kids were ISIS child soldiers, clearly.
No, he says, who cares if he gassed kids? He saved the country from ISIS. He's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, but going back to those people I was talking to who said they were against murder as a defense for not taking out Assad, I come across so many people like that. They'll be like in a pack, they'll be in a herd of people, and they're just like freaked out. They're like, I'm for the Iraq War, I'm for like the Vietnam War, and they're like, how could you? And then you'll ask them like a simple question like, what would have been the issue with just keeping like 5,000 troops in Iraq after 2011 or 8 or whatever, just as long as you needed to, because that's like a drop in the bucket for your military budget, and overall it's an even smaller drop in the bucket. And they just can't answer you. They're just like, I'm against killing, and I'm
the war.
The wars of oil, and it's so funny how you'll run into people, and I would be a little bit more skeptical. Like, wait, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. If anyone ever made an argument to me, I've never heard an argument yet.
No, I mean,
their argument is basically it's been too long, man. 19 years, 16 years. It's not our place.
It's like the same people who have to sit in Iraq with a gun, with a rifle, just sitting on a tree stump, waiting for those 20 years.
Yeah, amazingly enough, all those people are volunteers and are aware that at some point, I'm probably going to be on a tour. Like, I'm not just going to be sitting behind a desk my entire military career.
Yeah, and they get paid, and not only that, like, wouldn't it be a little bit weird if the military was essentially just like a camp that you got paid to go to? Like, the whole time we want it to be,
Yeah, no, they basically want it to be the case. Like they'll often talk about it too, like bring the boys home and everything. And it's usually these guys who are like 400 pounds or like 300 pounds, like overweight neckbeard dudes, bring the boys home. When it's like the guys that are actually over there, like fit, lean, mean, killing machines. And by and large, the military, with the exception of a few tokens like Tanky Tulsi, are more hawkish than even most of the hawks on Twitter. So
and Tanky Tulsi was not exactly a combat veteran. Like, people try to lift her up as one, but no, she was really just a medic. You know, I think you'd be really hard pressed to find a killer who was like Tanky Tulsi. That would be strange.
Well, no, but that's not true. I mean, Vladimir Putin he's a killer, and he agrees with Tanky Tulsi, so I can find.
But he's basically calling for intervention, but it's just for his side.
For his side, that's right. It's anti-imperialist. It was an anti-imperialist annexation of Ukrainian territory.
Tulsi Gabbard had more popsicles when she was in Iraq than she fired bullets.
Oh man, no, but you see this all the time. You see this all the time, and like Henry talked about that on one of the streams that either he did or I did, but he was on and he was saying that those people generally are people that never fit in, and they were looked at as weird by everybody in the service, and then they go on to like get these like cushy jobs, basically selling out U.S. interests and stuff. It's because it's easy. You get like a Russia Today gig, or you get free dinner in Syria, that kind of stuff,
Well, good for them.
Like their parents must be so proud, man.
What's that concept in Marxism or communism where people who are like of the working class or of labor or something, they're convinced to be on the side of the bourgeoisie or whatever. I forget. False consciousness. That's what they do to veterans and members of the military all the time. It's like they just don't know. Like they pretend like these people are just idiots who just want, like, they're just going to go to war, like go to a war for fun. Like they're like, oh,
no, tell you. They'll tell you straight up. They'll tell you straight up. Well, you didn't serve, so you don't get to have an opinion on it. Only people who served did. And it's like, of the people who served, it's almost all hawkish, Yeah,
no. I like how Tulsi, I hate to keep going back to her, but when she tells the story about her service and how she was inspired and how she wanted to go to Iraq because of all the rhetoric following 9/11, does that just not sound like the biggest crock of shit you've ever heard?
It sounds like a storybook. Like, I was watching 9/11. I was stunned by 9/11 while I was sitting on my couch eating apple pie with a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken in my American flag T-shirt, and I was absolutely disgusted by what those terrorists did.
Well, while driving an F-150.
Yeah, I immediately got into my Ford and just moseyed down the street.
Range. Yeah, it's more like it was a job. Like, I got paid to do this. There were education opportunities.
When you do a singular tour and then immediately go try and find a desk job, it's like, I know there's some people who genuinely like are good members of the military who just want to do one tour, but it's like when you're supposedly the hyper patriot and you're like, oh, one tour in the back lines, that was enough for me.
Well, the problem with Tulsi, and I've said this before, it's not that her service wasn't good. It's like, obviously you need medics, you need people in the military. It's still honorable. The problem is, it's like saying that Benedict Arnold was honorable. It's like, yeah, but then that doesn't mean that you then get to go and basically be seditious afterwards. It's like, I mean, you can respect somebody's service and then also be very disappointed with what they're doing afterwards. Like, it doesn't preclude you from selling out your country. There's a reason that most spies turned out to be former troops or current troops for that side that they were spying against. You know,
I think at this point we can say that her career it outweighs the value of her service. Like, one tour versus years upon years of radicalizing millions of morons, and the growth of paleoconservatism, the growth of seeing RT as a valid source of information. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, we got these guys right now, and I know that these guys are trolls, but people actually think like this. Like, Leaf Zombie says Tulsi would save the West from destruction, and Pro Thing says Tulsi will save the West from Western imperialism. Like, wait, are we gonna take over ourselves? Like, what's like that kind of sounds funny. That kind of sounds like when Abby Martin accused Henry and the people that he was working with of invading Texas, that kind of thing. Like, I mean, yikes. Oh man,
it's just I do think it's trolling, but I mean it's clueless. People don't understand. There only is a Western world still around because of imperialism. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Wait, that makes you sound like an imperialist ghoul. That makes you sound like ghoul fuel.
Oh, ghoul fuel. I mean, it's true. It is what it is, and people can dislike that. I think that if you approach most reasonable people, you could win them over to some degree. If you approach people on the left, you could win them over to the plight of people in other nations via some humanitarian rhetoric. And you could win over people on the right talking about national security and policies related to that. But then you have these people that Wyatt was coming across, and they just have no argument. Well, the reason is obvious, is because they've been just hearing rhetoric for years upon years, and this is the accepted thing to believe. If you want to be seen as a good person, you have to denounce the Vietnam War. Obviously, it would be crazy. You don't need an argument. It's not like intellectual vigor is valued in isolationist circles. No, they just simply say something is bad, something is triggering, something needs to be canceled, and it is.
Well, they've just genuinely never thought about the issue. They just assume that the side is correct. So they've never actually thought about preparing an argument for isolationism or paleoconservatism. They just assume that, well, that's just what everyone thinks. So I'm actually talking to like 6 people who they claim to hold this position, but none of them have ever actually thought about it. So you almost sort of feel bad where all these people are getting blindsided all the time by on issues that they're like hyper confident on, yet they've also never even thought about it for 5 seconds.
It's Dunning-Kruger. The less you know, the more confident you are, and they know nothing, and they have all the confidence in the world. And we got Pro Thing here right now calling me a neocon ghoul. It's like, dude, check my Twitter. I call myself a neocon ghoul. I am the neocon ghoul. Like, I am the stuff of Kremlin Kyle Kulinski's nightmares right there. We got SP Broadcraft. He says Tulsi would save. Tulsi will save. Sounds like a troll's mantra.
Yeah, that's a pretty good troll account, honestly.
that's a good troll account. That's a reference to H.P. Lovecraft. So that's
man,
funny. It's got to be like with the suit and the pentagram and everything.
SP Broadcraft.
SP Broadcraft, right?
Oh man. No.
we got Pro Thing whining and fuming and dooming. Bernie would have won. Yeah, but he lost, dude. Bernie would have won. What does that mean? Tulsi would have won. What does that mean? He lost. She lost.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, like in order to say that, you basically have to assume that where America actually is somewhere between Bernie and like Karl Marx, whereas where America actually is somewhere between Biden and Trump.
Yeah, not for real. It kind of relates to something that we were saying earlier, but it reminded me kind of the because people wanted Bernie to win the nomination through a plurality. Obviously, that really helped them, and it reminded me what we were saying earlier about the kind of the kind of uniform thinking within parties, and we were criticizing that, but I think that if you get too far away from that, you come across the problem that you would have with a President Nikki Haley, where potentially, at this point, her own party would be so divided that she may have to, it doesn't just become a matter of uniting the left and the right. It becomes a matter of uniting the right behind American ideals. And, as much as I would criticize uniform thinking, I'd rather have, closer to uniform thinking around American values than what we have now, because basically, there comes a point when there's so much division. It's like having like 8 parties, really, and nothing's going to get accomplished.
Oh man, we have 2 dislikes right now, and I think I know who left them. We've got Bernie, or Leaf Zombie says Bernie would save Palestine, so that's funny. And
Palestine.
And we got Pro Thing saying for like the 4th or 5th time here, if we go to war with Iran, it will be Vietnam 2.0. So there's that.
So basically, we'll be on the right side. Okay.
So not only that, we'll be successful as long as we don't randomly cut funding and pull out after we win.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what Vietnam went like. I had some idiots on my meme page today tried to tell me, like, you guys realize that like some Vietnamese rice farmers kicked your ass, right? And like I didn't even respond because I'm like, the Democrats, the KGB hyped up the anti-war movement, and the Democrats caved into it and basically pulled out. Like if America wanted to, and I said this before, like if America went like all out and like actually stayed the course, or if America say just went with hashtag just nuke pill things like this,
if they just pulled up Nixon's agreement to basically bomb the North Vietnam if they ever moved tanks over the border, it's like that would have just kept it at a dull roar, because even the South Koreans sort of held their own for at a few of the battles. They would have just needed less North Vietnamese tanks everywhere.
Yeah. Oh man. I speaking of the memes though, I did make another one. I've got a few of these ones. I've been kind of enjoying the format. When he tries to tell you about his sovereignty, but you're done talking. Hashtag just nuke pill things. That one, I got a kick out of that one because obviously, like the hashtag just girly things. It was like originally like on the internet with like, oh, when he takes off his tie, that kind of stuff or whatever. It's like hashtag just girly things and whatnot. Whereas this, it's like, yeah, when he tries to tell you about his sovereignty, but you're done talking. Hashtag just nuke pill things, right? So a lot of people didn't really like those. That one triggered a lot of people. A lot of people found it spooky. So
I think to say that Iran would be the next Vietnam is like such a brainlet take. Does that mean they think that there would be a draft? Because that's not happening.
They're saying it because of the thick jungle forests in Iran.
Oh yeah,
the jungly forests of the what's the big desert over there?
There's so many places to put spike traps in Iran.
No, I like how the idea that it would be Vietnam 2.0, as if North Vietnam was trying to get nukes, as if it was anywhere near as serious as Iran either. Like Iran, I said this before too. Like Iran is one of two countries right now where the only option is war. I don't think the only option with Russia is war. I don't think the only option with China is war. But North Korea, before they get H bombs, you got to take them out. And Iran, before they get A bombs, you got to take them out. We have windows of opportunity. Now, you can win a war with a power that has, a few hundred A bombs or a few dozen A bombs and still win it. But if they got a few hundred H bombs, then it's kind of too late. And North Korea is getting close. Why are we going to let Iran, I don't understand this idea, this even Stevens type of realist attitude that if every country has 1 billion nukes, we'll never have to fight a war again. Or how about we'll just have insanely deadly wars,
Yeah,
that's kind of.
I think people assume that every culture values human life the same. A lot of people are in a lot of countries would be perfectly fine dying in a nuclear holocaust as long as they got to nuke you as well.
I like. Oh man, no, I like this one from Leaf Zombie.
Bombers, just letting people know.
No, I like this one from Leaf Zombie. He says, "Free trade with North Korea. I feel bad for them." So I can't tell if he's like one of those neolib guys who loves free trade, but they're not really fans of North Korea. So it's kind of like a lefty thing to be like super into North Korea, but the lefties are against free trade. So it's kind of like he's like a pro North Korea neoliberal, I guess. Like what?
I mean, you can feel bad for them. I don't really think that trade's going to help them very much. I don't think they're going to see a whole lot of a return from that investment.
Technically, a lot of Chinese products are North Korean, just mislabeled.
Yeah, that is something. Yeah, I should probably talk about that on the stream at some point about like how they skirt around the sanctions and stuff. But just this idea that we left sanctions on them and now Kim can buy $800 million of luxury liquor instead of $200 million.
I think one of the funniest things this year is the stupid thing at the beginning of the year in January about World War III. I don't think people understand how geography and war works. Iran would be close to one of the top, one of the easiest countries to invade. Like removing sort of the different military strengths of countries, Iran is not a very good place to have to defend. The only worst place would be having to defend like Qatar, Turkmenistan,
Poland.
Yeah, like Poland, maybe like Togo.
And we wouldn't need a draft for Iran. The military has advanced beyond that point. A lot of the war would be fought with drones. A lot of the war would be fought with a pretty minimal troop presence, honestly.
Right.
It wouldn't be sending millions of boys over there.
No, but it'd be World War III. It would be like it would be smaller than Vietnam, but it would still be like World War III, bro.
How?
Yeah.
Because like everything's World War III with these people. Like June literally.
I don't think these people understand how wars work. They only know that certain like Vietnam took a really long time. They don't know why. They've never thought about it for more than 5 seconds. And it's like if you've ever seen other wars, even wars when technology wasn't as advanced, like the Spanish American War, or like the Cuban War. I'm not sure if that's what it's called. Maybe I'm dumb. I'm dumb sometimes. But like that war didn't take very long because Cuba's not exactly a great place to have to defend with not a huge army, and Iran's army is not that good.
No, it's overrated. All that they have going for them is the largest ballistic missile force of any non-nuclear country, but numbers, if I had to pick between 100 American missiles or 1,000 Iranian missiles, I know what I'm going with. So, numbers ain't everything.
There's like in the first Gulf War, I've heard stories where people who are like American tank operators were saying at some point they actually started intentionally missing Iraqi tanks because they started feeling bad for their enemy because they were just kicking them around so much and they were killing so many people, so they started just trying to like damage their treads or trying to land shots really close to them so that they would run away.
Well,
that's what Iran would be like, except the Americans don't even have to technically put a boot on the ground to destroy the Iranian military.
when the Americans invaded Iraq, Saddam Hussein actually had the MiG-21s and the MiG-23s flown out to like save bunkers because he was worried that they were going to get shot down by the U.S. Air Force. I'm like, when you have to move your Air Force away because you're worried that the enemy Air Force is coming in, you know you've lost the war. It's like, wait, shouldn't they be up there trying to shoot down the Americans? Because he knew. He's like, the one F-15 would shoot down all of his Air Force. The only limitations would be how many missiles it was able to carry. Like, it's not like, oh, we're going to shoot down 5 of theirs, but they shut down 18 of ours. And, you know, we got some wins and they got even more wins. It's more like a 3-year-old playing basketball, a million rounds of basketball with Michael Jordan. Who's going to win every single one of those rounds?
Yeah, it's like in the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War. It doesn't matter. Like, if you I think it was the Lebanese or the Jordanians who had like panzers in their militaries, like old Panthers and
anime,
like
dude,
Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs, and I think a couple Tigers or whatever. Is like, man, I know it's a tank, but unless the Israelis just forget their tanks at home, they're not going to survive this one. I'm sorry, like the Iranian military, a lot of its technology is so antiquated. It's not like, oh, a rifle with that's all slightly easier to fire, slightly has a better fire rate and it's more stable. It's like no. It's like you have a flintlock pistol and I have a rifle with a scope on it and I'm sitting like 2 miles away.
Oh man, you know, it's like
how
when people say,
correct for windage.
you know, it's like when people say though that that the North Koreans, you know, they have a pretty sizable air force. It's like, yeah, and about half of their airplanes were produced before 1948 and have propellers and can't fly past. Like,
yeah,
when they fly in the wind, they can fly backwards. That's how slow they are.
The literal only thing that the North Koreans can do at this point is just hold South Korea hostage. And again, that's why you can't let them have a nuke, because nuclear weapons, regardless of how old it is, if you could drop it on someone, it's going to do a lot of damage. And even the 21,000 artillery pieces they have aimed at Seoul all the time, that's not really like that's never going to actually help in a real war these days. But you could kill a lot of people, and that's all they can really do.
Yeah,
kill a lot of people all of a sudden. Only civilians.
That's the thing about nukes in particular. I was going to say, like, even in the example of the flintlock thing, technically, even a sword can kill somebody who might have like a high-powered rifle if they happen to like screw up or something and they're in close quarters. You, of course, gave me your example that they were far away, but with nukes,
target acquired.
But with nukes, even if you have like the most advanced surrounding equipment, even if you got like the most like awesome targeting, even if you've got the best delivery system, even if you've got lights on the warhead and it's swaggy and everything, when the nuke goes off, it's the exact same physics package, you know, as the Trinity test. If we're talking just an A bomb, it's like if a 1940s nuke goes off in your house, or if a 1980s sophisticated one goes off in your house, like the fireball. The other one might be bigger, but that fireball is going to vaporize even a mountain. Like there's no way to harden against the nuclear fireball.
Yeah, like North Korea is so close. Even if they had like World War I era artillery, they would still decimate the city if they fired off a few volleys.
Oh, for sure.
Like
I mean,
that's why. Actually, no, I find this all the time. People will pretend as if like North Korea is no threat and like, oh, America, like they would never attack us because America would absolutely waste them in less than a day. But then those same people will be like, oh, World War III with the Iranians, and it's going to last years.
Well, you know why? It's because people
they're going to hide in the non-existent hills.
No, I know why. It's because people have been hearing, you know, nuclear threats, and they've been seeing stuff from Iran for a long time. And they see Iran and they think terrorism and stuff, and they think scary. And then they see North Korea and they think of the interview and they think of it as like one big meme and it's a joke and Kim's fat and stuff. They don't understand that at the end of the day, North Korea could right now, even though they haven't really tested and worked out the kinks in their delivery systems to get them down, they did prove that when they did a vertical trajectory on one so that it didn't actually go all the way that it was intended, it could have reached to Washington, D.C., and when they put it on an arc, they had it on an arc such that no, I'm thinking of a different one. They wanted to prove that they could hit Guam. So when they did it, they fired it in a different direction out in the middle of the ocean. But when you trace a radial arc from that random place where the missile was going to Guam, it's dead on. And you're like, okay, so they have the range. The only question is the accuracy. The problem is they're getting up to where the Soviets were. And the Soviets, they had poor rocket technology back around this time when they were like the North Koreans were. And the way that the Soviets overcompensated for it was that they realized, well, you know, it's expensive. It takes a lot of innovation to make the missiles more accurate. You know, it's easier to do, just enrich more uranium. And so they made their warheads a lot bigger. And it got to the point where in 1961, October 1961, they tested a bomb that was designed to be 100 megatons. In other words, they could have missed Washington, D.C. by 40 miles and it would have leveled the place. So you don't even need to be that accurate once you have a big bomb. It's like
the North Koreans are so close to Seoul, they could just take a child slide and just roll an atomic bomb from World War II at Seoul, and it's gonna hit. It's like there's no skill in that. Unless we're so heartless, we only care if they try and nuke America. I think we can take a little bit more like compassion on people.
That's it though. Because you got people like John Bolton would say, hey, look, we'd rather fight them over there than over here. And you'll have people say, not our problem, not our backyard. Are you willing to lose New York for Seoul? This kind of stuff. And it's like, you're not going to lose New York right now. Like if you went in right now, North Korea would not fire missiles at America. They might fire some missiles at Guam, the base there, but they're not going to waste their limited amount of weapons on trying to hit Washington in an attack that's probably going to get shot out of the sky. They're going to nuke Japan. They're going to nuke U.S. bases in Japan. They're going to nuke, U.S. bases in South Korea if the U.S. got involved. But what's more likely right now is nothing happens. They build up 8,000 nukes or 1,500 nukes or 1,800 nukes. They hone their targeting systems, and then they decide to invade the South. And I've been talking about this. It's one of the reasons I started this channel was I wanted people to realize this is what they're doing. They invade the South, and then the South says to America, hey, look, are you going to help? You've got 30,000 troops here. America says, they're going to have to become POWs because we're not losing all of our cities to save you guys. So you guys are going to have to fight this.
Die if we did something. That would be murder.
This is what happened. People don't understand this. This is what happens if we invade North Korea. Kim will be in a bunker with a cyanide pill. That's what's going to happen. That's going to be his main concern. Oh shit, they actually showed up. Let me die before I have to face justice for all of my war crimes. No. He's not gonna be concerned with like, oh yeah, let me get off, like a final hurrah. No, he's gonna be scared out of his fucking mind.
He'll fire the nuke to negotiate.
First. No, he'll fire the nukes first. Like they have orders. Like one of the things that they have orders in North Korea is that the moment that the Americans cross the parallel, they have orders to shoot every one of the prisoners. The idea is that it would prevent the Americans from trying to liberate them. So like there's no liberating the people of North Korea. Like I'm so done with this idea that, oh, you're talking about nukes, but weren't you talking about like saving people and stuff and liberating people? I'm like, yeah, this isn't Iraq. Like it's too late. If you wanted to save the people of North Korea, go in before they get atomic bombs. Like help them.
Having to the way of peacefully doing it with like everyone getting something that they want would just be having to wait until Kim Jong-un dies, and then having to wait until his sister dies because she seems crazy, and then having to hope that the next relative is not insane, and then that person would probably voluntarily give up the game anyways, and they wouldn't need it.
It's like unlikely.
Waiting. We're literally just waiting until one like member of the Kim family somehow comes out right in the head, which is a little bit of a bad bet.
No, but we had a Kim family member who did. That was Kim what was his name? The Kim Jong guy? No, the younger brother, the one who loves Eric Clapton. He's gone to like 40 Eric Clapton concerts around the world. Kim Jong-il did not pick him for the leadership because he looked at his 3 sons. He had 3 sons. he had the one that got assassinated in Malaysia from Jong-un. That guy was such a goofball. He got caught sneaking into Disney Tokyo with a fake passport. So his dad was like, "You're an embarrassment. You lose." He was the older one. He was the one who had the right to rule. But Kim Jong-il was like, "No, you're done, son. You're literally." He's like, "You're done,
son."
And so imagine losing absolute authority over a country of 25 million people and all the swag and money and power because you want to go to Tokyo Disneyland. So anyway, he was done. So then that left the other two brothers. And so Kim Jong-un is next. And Kim Jong-il, always remember Kim Jong-un is the guy that when the other guys were like doing their schoolwork or they would be like, watching TV or whatever, Kim Jong-un was the one who liked to punch things and stuff. And he liked basketball. And that made his dad feel like maybe he could be the one that took over. And then he looked at the younger brother, the one who loves Eric Clapton, and he saw him as this effeminate goofball that would never inherit the country. And so the ones who might have brought somewhat of a bit of, liberalization to the country, if you will, even though they probably would have gotten cooed, they probably wouldn't have been able to hold power. Those guys purposefully weren't selected. It was, of course, going to be the one who liked punching things that was going to be chosen as the great successor, because Kim Jong-il was like, oh, he's not going to make any deals with the Americans, whereas the other guys, maybe they would. So he chose the one. And then likewise, if Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un dies and his sister takes over, her kids, who's she's going to pick? Is she going to pick the one who studies economics and stuff? Or is she going to pick the one who likes to do voodoo with dolls and stuff? We all know who's going to be the leader. It's just going to go Kevin, on and on for 10 million years. And I said this before. It's like Newton's law. It's like an object remains in motion until acted upon by an external force, or at rest unless acted upon by an external force. Likewise with these regimes, they continue to exist in their present state unless intervened upon by an external force. There's not going to be a revolution in North Korea. Anybody who says that doesn't know anything about the country. They know nothing about what North Korean society is like. They think it's like Tunisia or Syria or something. It's not. It's nothing like that. It's a completely closed society.
Come on, Kevin. The Kim family's gonna produce one good kid at some point. I watched that documentary, The Interview, and it turns out they really like Western entertainment.
He likes Katy Perry, man.
He likes Katy Perry. I could see Richard Smith right now. I just thought of Richard Smith over on Twitter, because when people ask, hey, why did you start supporting Trump again? I thought that you were supporting Joe Biden, and you said that Trump was being mean and everything. And he's like, yeah, but Donald Trump, turns out he said something good about Nikki Haley or whatever. It's likewise with that. It's like, no, I used to be against Kim Jong-un, but then he said that Nikki Haley was a wonderful person, so I think he's a cool guy now. That kind of logic, it's like, oh, he likes Nikki, he likes Katy Perry. He also probably likes Nicki Minaj. It's like, oh, he's relatable. And unfortunately, even though the North Koreans threatened a literal nuclear war if that movie was shown in theaters, which is insane that we caved into them. But you know what? They probably should have been happy with the movie because it humanized their freaking dictator. It made a lot of people look at him as this big meme and, oh, he's a funny guy and stuff. And Dennis Rodman, oh man, I could do a rant on Dennis Rodman. That loser who fell in love with Kim and went over there and did the Marilyn Monroe thing with John Kennedy, except in reverse, where he's like, happy birthday to you, to Kim. That was embarrassing, man. And then he went on CNN. He's like, happy birthday to you. And all the NBA guys are clapping for the dear leader. And then he went on CNN. And in the interview with CNN, Anderson Cooper asked him, all you guys are over here. Don't you think that this obviously sends a message that you guys think that the North Korean regime is swaggy and stuff? And Rodman was like, no. And then he goes off on this unhinged rant. He starts dropping F-bombs and stuff and talks about how CNN is imperialist and all this kind of stuff. And the other NBA players are looking there. They're spooked. They're like, we just came to play basketball, but this guy, he actually loves your leader.
You'll really like this article from The Dive, Kevin. That's and the title is, yes, the United States did drop a plan to drop 80 nuclear weapons on North Korea.
Oh man. Well, Douglas MacArthur got fired because he wanted to do it, and he didn't just want to use nukes in North Korea. He wanted to target the bases that their Air Force was staging from in Manchuria. and Truman fired him over it, and it wasn't just that. Obviously, it was seen as he didn't follow orders and that he was questioning his superior, which technically Truman had the right to do. And I defended Truman. I called Truman a nuke-pilled hawk. He literally was a nuke-pilled hawk. He dropped 2 nukes to fight fascism, but there are gradations to nuke pill, and Douglas MacArthur was a bit more. He was an ascended nuke-pilled hawk. So, I mean, there are different levels to it. Like you can do 2. You can also do 8,000. So there are gradations. So.
Guys, what a goofball! Kim Jong-un is ordering nationwide searches because one of his portraits was damaged.
No, you can't. You have to dust the portraits of the dear leaders. You have to dust the portraits of the dear leaders. That's like a meme. Like whenever any of these bootlickers will post their worship and stuff, I'll always be like, he's dusting the portraits. Those portraits over there. If there's a fire or a flood or something, you have to risk your life to go into the house to save the portraits. Otherwise, your life is over. So. I'm just North Korea. North Korea is the biggest threat of what we're we got the war kettle here. We'll bring him on. How's it going, Jay?
Let's bring me up. Most important person here.
Yo, we're getting a lot of feedback right now on somebody's ad.
That's not me.
Oh, that's Reed.
Oh, of course, it's Boomer Reese.
It's Boomer Reese.
Hey, I thought
are you
was the boom.
Are you like in a fort, like a clothing fort or something, or like what's?
I momentarily put my phone in my pocket, so that's technically true.
Yeah, I guess that's technically true. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I like this. I visit North Korea in 2015. It was amazing, much better than Saudi. What about Saudi? No, it's definitely a troll. What about Saudi though? That's my parody of them. Oh man!
But like you want to go to North Korea over Saudi Arabia because they got the blueberry beer.
They got the legal juche weed, bro. That's what the Libertarian Party of America unironically posted and had. They have legal weed, bro. They're juche, bro. Libertarianism. No, dude, libertarians are such a joke because it's like I actually agree with some libertarians on some stuff, but the libertarian movement, they're like the most neckbeardy, goofball, tanky talsy, like almost basically Bernie bro foreign policy clowns. Like I just here's a challenge. Can we get a libertarian out there who actually isn't a total loser pigeon on foreign policy? Can we just have that for once? That'd be kind of cool. So
I don't even think that's possible, really. Like you'll find someone every now and then, but it's never really. It's not quite to the level I would want, and it's because you really can't argue for mass scale intervention when you're this petrified of the federal government. Oh, they're gonna get too much power. Oh,
the federal government's coming, Reese. They're coming.
I love how the federal government of America is more tyrannical than the government of North Korea.
If you listen to Western libertarians, you would come across with that.
I love how during all of the mass protests in cities and across America, the libertarians' biggest fear is still the federal government, not the raving bands, like the roving bands of communist lunatics.
Oh yeah, no.
Man.
It's constant, and the thing is, it happens on both sides to an extent. You're going to see a little bit more of it from like left-wing libertarians now because we have a right-wing executive, a right-wing administration, but it's always such bullshit. It's always like, oh, they're going to open the FEMA camps. No, they're not. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they are, Reese. They're going to put the degenerates like us in it.
Hey, man, put me in the boot camp if it's anything like what they think the military's like.
No, the boot camps. They just want the military to just be one giant basic training. Like, that's what you do. And then you go home.
I've always been so confused by how the libertarian. I think it's just because the libertarians rely on their one word answer for everything that the government
Small
is
government.
bad. Yeah, small government. And the thing is, I'm for small government, but they're so hyper ideological about it. It's like, man, there's someone literally burning down your city right now, and you're calling Trump a fascist for proposing that the federal, the Federal Reserves move in.
Oh my God, someone in the chat is saying that the US federal government is imperialist. I fucking wish, bruh.
That is most likely a troll. But
yeah,
it's one of those things, you hear this rhetoric all the time. I've heard it my whole life. And like, oh yeah, we want America. We want America to be run by a small government. America, the most powerful nation in the world. America that's heading NATO. America that is involved in so many places. It, by nature, can't have a small, hands-off government. And it's a ridiculous expectation.
I'd love to live in the world where a libertarian government comes to power in the U.S. for a year, just just live in that world for a year, and then it goes back to normal. Just because I'd love to see the United States get invaded with its tiny military, and for the libertarians who would say that, well, the military's for home defense, would probably say, well, Oregon got nuked. California hasn't been nuked yet, or like Ohio is still fine. I shouldn't have to fight a war on behalf of Ohio or Virginia.
Well, Elizabeth Warren,
what would happen? They would just keep decentralizing to the point where it's like, well, that's Montana's issue. I'm not getting involved in an interventionist war in Montana.
It's going to be worse than that. It's going to be every home front, every single home. Well, I'm not going to fight my neighbor's war. Look, I've got my own plot of land.
I got a lot. I got to mow my lawn.
The Russians detonated an 8 megaton bomb over the downtown area, but you happen to live in an outskirts suburb of the city, and you're like, well, technically, they detonated that bomb over one of the banks downtown, and they didn't do it over my house, so they didn't really attack me, bro.
I gotta get to my computer and post a meme about how they should have lived in the burbs.
No, Elizabeth Warren literally, and Reese did a video about this. She literally had a bill that was going to make it so that America couldn't use nukes unless America got nuked first. I'm just imagining the libertarians making one where it's like America can only use nukes after 8 weeks of fallout from an
enemy. I remember that video from Reese where Kyle Kalinske, like the bill was so stupid that even he couldn't comprehend it. He was like, well, sure, she of course probably means unless we're threatened that we don't use it. He didn't understand that the first strike has to come from an enemy first. He couldn't even wrap his mind around that.
Yeah, apparently he didn't have the attention span to read like a 1-paragraph bill.
He read it twice too on camera.
Oh.
Remember?
Well, then he's just retarded.
Read it out loud, and the words couldn't connect.
Oh yeah, because in his mind, Elizabeth Warren isn't a true progressive. She's a snake.
She's a corporate dam in disguise.
Yeah, she's a radical.
He says war bad, and then Arthur's here. He says bar wad.
Bar wad.
Bar wad.
That should be our response. Just if people get it, they get it.
That'd make fantastic T-shirts.
Bar wad.
Bro.
Everyone who sees it knows what it is.
No, we have a ton of inside jokes now here. Like Jay, you might get a kick out of this. I'll see if I can bring him up in the comments. Oh no, it was too long ago, and we had such an active chat. But we had a Richard Smith parody here, who his profile picture was like a bad ripoff of Nikki Haley in Photoshop, and in the background it was a picture of Nikki Haley's dog with Nikki Haley.
Like, oh my days, that's amazing. That's amazing. Why do you hate Nikki Haley, guys? Like, why is there so much hate for Nikki Haley on the stream?
Nikki Haley hater trademark.
Yeah.
That also reminds me, we should have Nikki Haley's biggest fan T-shirts.
No, we should have Nikki Haley's biggest hater fans.
Nikki Haley hater shirt. If anyone can figure out where Richard lives, and when an order is placed from where he lives, just don't send him the shirt.
Well, no, he lives in the Netherlands. He said it a bunch of times. He's like, no, I'm in the Netherlands. I'm like the biggest Nikki Haley fan.
Fuck it, I'm going on Teespring right now. I'm designing I'm number one Nikki Haley hater.
We need the merch, dude.
We need the merch.
This is a shirt that says, "I'm a bigger Nikki Haley fan than Richard Schmidt."
No. I'm
I need to enter a Walmart or a grocery store with that shirt because it makes no sense.
Bro.
Well,
I'm making a T-shirt.
And in the shirt, it will be his profile picture. And most people would think that was a picture of Nikki Haley, but we'll all know that that's a reference to Richard Schmidt screenshotting a picture of Nikki Haley and using it as his avatar, like that one with her in like the pink dress.
We can also we have a shirt.
He's still here. Yeah, that's the account. Jay, look at that account. Look at the profile picture. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. No,
That's
dude,
amazing.
Dude, it's the dog. It's literally hashtag Dog Boy Richard. Hashtag Milk Boy Richard.
Milk Boy.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
There could be a milk shirt, a milk themed shirt. Maybe there could be breast outlines on the T-shirt. A reference to,
or we could have more activist styled shirts that say hashtag Leave Nikki Haley alone.
Oh my god, like the Britney song from like 10 years ago. Leave Nikki Haley alone.
No, we know this guy Leaf is a troll now. He says Nikki Haley's Milk 2020. He's one of the gang. That's a hawk ganger right there. So we got science with milk. Just a bunch of milk.
Milk. Yeah, no, I hope that you roll out T-shirts this October for like spooky nukes and stuff like that.
No, we have to.
You're gonna fund a new PC very quickly.
No, dude. Okay, so the summer is almost officially over, and we all know what that means. The season for ghouls and goblins is fast approaching, and we all know that when you tune into Superpower Broadcasting, you're getting the home of the Hawks. You get, your boy here, Neocon Ghoul. You get Ghoul Fuel. And we're going to be shirt. We're going to have the merch, dude. It's going to be lit. And pretty soon, this is one of the last streams without my face because we're going to be back soon, bigger than ever. We got a new PC set up. Got a new monitor.
Kevin's got a new school computer coming.
Yeah, I got a new school computer, dude. And this ain't Nikki Haley's grandmother's school computer. This one's got a Ryzen 5 3600 built in, so that's pretty potent. So there we go.
Hark at Kevin throwing around numbers like he knows what they mean.
Like he knows what they mean. No, but it's serious. It's a 6-core processor.
Overcoming your boomerisms one step at a time.
Oh my god! Speaking
comment.
Of boomerisms.
Can we get Kevin Castley on Jesse Lee Peterson's show? Because, of course, he's Mr. Amazing. So, oh, man.
Mr. Amazing is right. Speaking of boomers, did you guys, that fucking OK Boomer girl? Well, she's on fucking Twitter tweeting pictures of her on a private jet yesterday. And I was just like, that is so a typical social elite. Going on about voting for some hardcore socialist while running around on a private fucking jet plane.
When you started that sentence, I thought you were going to say she was on OnlyFans, honestly. I thought that's what you were going.
I thought you were going to say too.
No, dude, everybody's on OnlyFans at this point.
Including Jay.
Yeah, including me,
for like the most spicy rants where like you come on there, you pay like $25 and it's not just like, it's not just where I talk about like how like I'm pissed at like Trump for like not taking out Iran or whatever. It's like I go into like the full hashtag 8,000 meme, like Anthony knows what that's a reference to. But basically, Jay, I made some memes. These are hashtag just nuke pill things. Did you see these yet? These are potent. Like,
oh yeah. I think I've seen one or two of them popping about.
Yeah, this one here, when he tries to tell you about his sovereignty, but you're done talking, hashtag just nuke pill things. It's like a take on the hashtag early things meme from like Tumblr years ago. I think they're pretty potent, so. Oh, man. Russia should liberate. Oh man!
Right, first design T-shirt is done. I am the only Nikki Haley hater. I'm putting this up on the fucking Teespring in the next 10 minutes, guys. This is going up.
Honestly, you kept everyone here except me because I'm not involved in this. You should make a shared Teespring store so you can sort of accumulate all the different T-shirt ideas. Because at this point, I think everyone in their heart owns Spooky Nukes.
Oh yeah, no, spooky nukies. That one is Arthur's, because like I was talking about spooky nukes or whatever, and he's like he made the spooky nukies graphic, which it's like green and it's like dark in the background. It's like spooky nukies, and we use that for the thumbnail. Kamal Jeet Ram says if Reese gets an OnlyFans, then I will get it. So there you go.
You know, I have some ideas. Let me just float this one by you. Imagine me on a stream, and we have Mills Row tied up, and maybe we're whipping him or something until he admits the superiority of Western culture.
I wanted to have I wanted a T-shirt where it's Reese, except it's Wyoming Reese. You're just sort of sitting there sitting next to a working cowboy hat on, holding a cup of coffee like it's a Folgers commercial.
Wyoming Reese. Wyoming Reese wiving the Wyoming wife, you know?
Yeah, you just live
wiving the Wyoming wife.
You still have to be wearing Fat Greg's suit.
No, I like how I asked Reese this like a while back when I was like, "Yo, sup, Reese? How's the wife in Wyoming?" And you're like, "Don't talk about my wife." Because wife, Wyoming.
Don't speak about my wife.
No, I love that account though, because it's just the way that he angled Reese's face, like with the skeleton and stuff there. Well, he's got the guns, like the pistols. It's just he's like, oh yikes, he just damaged.
I live in the farmland that OK Boomer Girl flies over. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know.
You also live in that land where Kyle flies over, looks down and goes, "Look at what damage we've done to the planet." No, Kyle, that's farmland.
How did they make it like this?
What's
I remember that video.
I represent the people, man. These are
where are these shapes and rectangles? Where are these rectangles, bro?
He wants America to become communist and doesn't even know what farmland looks like. I mean, shit, Carl. Sort it out because you're going to be working on a farm soon.
Oh!
My favorite Kyle Kulinski quote is, "Politics is an easy game that we make hard."
Oh, good.
Oh man, my favorite Kyle Kulinski quote is Amy Cloud Boot Chart. He laughs at his own nickname. He laughs at his own nickname. His nicknames take ages to come up with, and they suck. They're worse.
Oh, that needs to be a T-shirt now. It's Kyle Kulinski saying "Cloud Boot Jar" and then immediately shooting himself in the head.
Yeah, Cloud Boot Jar, and he made because it's not enough to just coin the nickname. He coins the nickname, he builds it up with like the big suspense in the video. He laughs at it, and then as the thumbnail of the video, it's a cloud. It's a sequence of a picture of a cloud, then a picture of a boot, and then a picture of a jar, which are all neutral objects. They can be good
they're
or
all
bad.
Clouds, boots, and jars are all classic memes that he just remixed into one.
Oh yeah, like I said before, they're good.
Gonna make a great jar meme.
Like there are good things and bad things in all of them. Like it's not like Sleepy Joe or Low Energy Jeb where it's that's a negative. Cloud Boot Jar, like there are good clouds. Like for example, mushroom clouds over North Korea. There are bad clouds. Mushroom clouds over America. Not good. There are good boots, like they keep you warm in the winter. There are bad boots, like the boots that Kyle licks. So you don't want.
I knew you were going.
There are good jars, like there are jars that you can use to like keep pickles from like getting all over the floor and stuff, and they can they can pickle, and then you get more
jars
food. But they can also have like bad jars. So.
Then there's jars that Kyle has difficulty opening. Those are the real bad ones.
Oh, okay. You know, Pro Thing is a true fan of this channel because he brings up Tap Jaker. That might be the cringier nickname, Tap Jaker, because he lost at them both.
That's so stupid.
It's so stupid,
man. Tap Jaker.
What a zinger! What a burn! He just took his name and he basically flipped it. Like that's the extent of his insults. I'm out here, like I'm actually putting in work, bro. I'm actually putting in work, bro. I got Fumin and Doomin. I got Nutter Gnome Chomsky, Storn and Born. I got all these base names, and then here's this guy with 800,000 subs, $20,000 a month to do that. That's what your money goes into. 20,000 a month for that. Tap Jaker.
Jake Tapper on Suicide Watch.
he's scared. He's running scared, man.
No, it's more like Epstein Jeffrey on Suicide Watch. You know, he flips it.
Oh,
that's his nickname. What a bird! He like reversed his name. What are you gonna do about it? You must into the emergency room, bro.
Kyle Kalinske must host a show of an Olive Garden because he's always freaking laughing.
Oh man, yeah, Kremlin Kyle Kalinske, not the best initials for a name. Just gotta say, like his parents, they really messed up with that one. KKK, come on, you can do better.
That's fitting.
Oh my god. I never thought of that, Kevin.
wait, I thought everybody knew. Kremlin Kyle Kalinske, KKK. That was part of the meme.
I had never actually made
the meme.
I just never really thought of it like that, but yeah, holy shit.
KKK, Kremlin Kyle Kalinske. No, dude, his parents messed up big time. He's the right.
Well, hang on. How do we not know that his parents weren't actually in the KKK?
You never know, man. You never know.
Exactly. You never know.
Steve Shive's grandparents were like slave owners or some shit, so you really never know.
I mean, yeah, this is true. It's very true.
Poor Mr. and Mrs. Kalinske.
Mm-hmm. How they had to raise that child.
I mean, even worse, like, okay, whatever, 20,000 on Patreon. But there's so many people who, and they're all dumb kids, but Kyle is their one news source. That's scary. Like, that is super worrying.
I wonder if anyone actually thought. I not just to bring it up again, but I wonder if anyone actually thought, why am I watching this guy? I should sort of like broaden my horizons after they heard his Cloud Boot Jar and Tap Jaker joke. It's just like,
no, they're dipshits. They thought that was funny.
Because I've even had some people I've been watching at one point where they started saying some really like just like cringy jokes, and you're like, I should really reconsider this person.
No, but they all hang out with each other. Like I hung out in university with everybody who they were fans of Kyle. They thought it was good. They thought it was funny, dude. Like they're the types of people who thought like the NATO intervention in the Bosnian area was a war crime, that kind of shit.
What?
That John Bolton belongs in the ICC. They're fans of Ahmadinejad and the Ayatollah. They're fans of Kim because he's sticking it to the American banks, all this kind of crap. Then when they hear Cloud Boot Jar, they're like, oh man, how is she going to recover? Basically, like,
got her.
like they'll use Tap Jaker. Like that. In other words, even though it's just him in his little basement studio, which, by the way, $25,000 on that. Like, I probably put all together, if you added up the cost of the materials that have gone into my setup here, and granted, it's going to be a lot better in the next couple of days than it was before, less than $3,000, and most of that is furniture that my parents bought and stuff. $25,000 he raised on Patreon for this crappy little studio where he has like one light. Like, there's no way. But anyway, it's obviously
with the sickly green goblin green color.
Yeah, he's a goblin. We're ghouls. We're ghouls. He's a goblin.
I guess the Qataris aren't giving a lot of pesos these days. But no. This is the last thing I'll probably say. I actually have to go in a second here.
Okay.
But for some reason, the guy people I know in university, they really like to watch him, and they'll even bring him up in class as if his show's a good case study. Have you guys ever attempted to watch the Patriot Act, like Hassan Minhaj's show?
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of it.
It's cringe.
I watched
Fringe and cringe.
Yeah, like I think the only thing that I've ever seen from that show that was half decent was I think he criticized Trudeau at one point, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous, because usually he's like the progressives' favorite example. But yeah, like I don't get it. There's so many like people who watch John Oliver's show and they consider it a news source.
Oh, John Oliver's not funny. Why do you think we exported him to your shit country?
Trevor Noah is not funny. No, dude. Okay, I have a theory about this whole COVID thing and whatnot. I'm not going to say it was fake. I'm not going to say it was anything like that. No, it's real, and we need to get payback. But I have a thing about a theory. If you are somebody like Trevor Noah, this has been a great benefit to you, because instead of having to perform before a live audience, he can crack his stupid, unfunny, quote unquote jokes on YouTube, where it's just him sitting in a room where he makes jokes about the Orange Man bad and how we all can virtue signal against the Orange Man and stuff like that. And they're not funny, and I'm not laughing as I'm watching this, but they do like the zinger sort of thing and whatnot. And I guess like the boomers are supposed to, I guess, be into it. And I guess the Zoomers are too, because it's like woke or whatever. And I'm listening to this. I'm like, wait, but this isn't funny. Well, he doesn't have to hear that there's nobody laughing. The thing is, the sad thing about Kyle is, even though it's just him by himself in his rinky dinky, rusty, dusty little basement, the problem is there are a lot of people out there that unironically do watch him, and they think it's funny. And part of the reason why they think that Cloud Bouchard is funny is because you got to keep in mind, if they're watching any other comedians, it's going to be unfunny people like Trevor Noah. They've never seen funny. They're not subscribed to this channel. They don't know funny. They don't know good memes. They don't know good memes.
Maybe you could find people who aren't even politically inclined, who are just comedians, who are a million times more funny than Kyle.
That's true. I mean,
the best thing that ever happened to Trevor Noah was that when the whole pandemic started and he started just doing his show from his house, that at very least he was saved by the fact that John Oliver's far worse without a studio audience.
Yeah, that is true.
In the weird
also
pauses he has between jokes, as if he's waiting for laughter to start.
For the laugh track or something. The other thing, right? So, you know how all these like mainstream entertainers and whatnot, they always look down at YouTubers as them being like the creme de la creme, the best in the business. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? You're all on the same level as fucking Sargon of Borcard now.
It's true. You love to see it. You know, they're on our. They've come down a pedestal now. You know, they've come down a few pegs. They're with us now. But let's keep it real. I was talking about this before we YouTube. Well, all of the other competition, well, all the companies, all the old school television media companies, they're fuming and dooming and whining and crying and saying like, our numbers are down, our ratings are down. Fuck, what are we gonna do, bro? Meanwhile, YouTube, that they're all envious of, is like, man, I wish we could be more like television. You're like, what? What? They're like,
you really don't want to be a part of television.
Did you?
They're like, they're going to be TV 2.0. They're like, no. Here's the thing: we understand that it was the independent content creators and people that say controversial stuff and people that just do their own stuff that made us this huge monopoly, basically, and wealthy and stuff. We understand that, but like, come on, who doesn't want to see Trevor Noah and John Oliver doing Disney show references and then watch the Disney Channel and then watch CNN, and you're like, okay, But like, come on, they unironically want to be like TV. Well, all the TV stations would kill to be in YouTube's position.
Yeah, I love when they ever. I find it so cringy whenever they try and astroturf a Hollywood celebrity onto YouTube, like what they tried to do with Brie Larson a month and a half ago, where they had her pretending like she didn't understand how webcams worked and stuff like that.
No, we got pro thing here. He says, how much is the deep state, CIA, and military industrial complex paying you? It's all in one now. Well, apparently not enough, because my internet literally cut out like 5 minutes ago, and I had to rejoin the chat, and I even had to kick a duplicate of myself that was taking up the slot in here.
Yeah, they keep us on a starvation wage, and I actually have to go. And,
it's proper slave labor, really.
Slave
I
labor.
go right now to collect my government porridge.
Okay.
Before you go, mate, hold on. Before you go, sorry. Right, look in the live stream chat, click on that Teespring link, and check out my new merch.
Wait, you got new merch? It's gonna be sound like it. You know, he's got the new merch. It's right there. It's gonna be sound like a God church, bro.
Share it on screen, Kevin.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, Arthur's here. He says I'm in Kevin's basement starving. So okay, so thanks to Wyatt for coming on. Everybody, go check out Wyatt works with the National Telegraph. If you want to keep up to date with Canadian news, you can check them out. They also do other coverage on world affairs. Wyatt's got a good piece recently talking about Georgia and highlighting the role that Georgia's played and how they're severely under threat, and how, you know, they're basically the Israel that nobody talks about, and we need to stand by them because they're based. They helped out in Iraq at the same time as fighting Russia, and they won both. They are a hawk-built country, small country, hawk-built though. So you love to see it. So
I love the Georgians.
Yeah, big up to Georgia. So
yeah, I'm probably gonna drop out too, honestly.
Okay.
But it was cool. It was cool to come back. I'll try to come back more, especially, you know, with elections coming up and all that. I'm sure people. I don't know why people want to hear what I have to say, but they do. So.
Dude, you got 10,000
does that mean you're going to make some content, is it?
You know, I've been giving it some thought. I have been very busy lately, but I have some ideas about what I could do. So if I come back, you can expect it to be a pretty radical change in a lot of ways.
Oh shit. Reese is coming out as alt-right.
No, I was thinking
I
like
already made that list, so you know, I might as well.
No, oh man. So, but both of you guys and Wyatt too. I already talked to Wyatt earlier about this. Both of you guys are invited to my election panel November 3rd, 2020. If you're able to make it, it'd be awesome. The people would love to see you come on the stream, but if you don't have other plans, so.
Yeah, no,
I could reschedule my shagging for a different day.
you call up your bird. Listen, we're gonna have to do a rain check on that shagging.
Yeah,
exactly. Shag. Oh man.
Oh man.
I want to start like dropping that in. Like I want to just on some hapless American girl. Hey, you want to go shag? I don't even think she'd know what I was talking about. It'd be really funny.
Yeah, she'd be like, "Wait, you mean like to the mall?" Like,
yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
To like shopping or something. Oh man.
Let's go with that. Man, that's the ticket.
Yeah, there's a lot of Brit bongerisms out there and stuff, you know. So yeah,
I love British slang. It's super fun.
Yeah, you know, one of my favorite pieces that I've come to enjoy in the last little while, I know it's an old meme, but I still get a kick out of this one. The absolute unit. That is so great. Like, you guys seen those memes? The absolute unit.
I can't say I have.
Oh man, because apparently that's like a British sort of a meme that spawned where, you know, you'll have something big and round or whatever, or like a dude who's like super overweight or whatever, and then somebody's like the absolute unit. And you're like, I just thought it was funny. You know, it's kind of like saying the absolute state, except it's the absolute unit. Like, yeah, it's just kind of funny. What else is there? Oh, I was saying this on the stream that Jay was on. We watched some nukes go off, some old footage of 1950s, 1960s nuclear testing, and I was saying how, like, the American ones are cool and they're usually better quality and stuff, but they always film it from like 100 miles away and everything. Whereas the British, they had one where they fly over an H-bomb and they're almost overhead as it's going off, and you're like, man, those Brits, they're like
really risking it all for the footage.
Man. I'm like, this is art, and you're watching this thing go off, and you're like, they got the great soundtrack, and they've also got this beautiful bomber. Whereas the American bombers are cool, but like they're kind of conventional in their appearance. Whereas the British bombers are like, they're works of art, man. Like, they're sexy planes, right? And I mean, like the Vulcan and the Victor, like those V bombers, that they're works of art, right? And you're
Her Majesty's Royal Air Force, dude.
Yeah, Her Majesty's Royal Air Force. And it's like, yeah, they're flying overhead, and it's like you imagine a war breaks out, and you're kind of scared, but at the same time, that like you're gonna die in like 43 seconds when this thing goes off. But man, that's a beautiful airplane, Like, I mean, oh man, but yeah.
I'm gonna bounce, but you guys have fun and don't burn the house down.
Try not to,
unless it's Kim's house.
Oh, that's fine.
We got some memes for that.
He's got insurance. He'll be fine.
Yo, have a good night, Reese. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. So we were joined by Reese. Reese is back. So how's it going, Jay?
I'm doing very well.
Oh man. It's I guess it's early where you are. It's late where I am. It's about 2 o'clock here.
12 o'clock in the afternoon now.
12 o'clock. Okay. So you're just kind of like, in the middle of your day and stuff. Oh man. So
yeah.
Oh man. So what's new with you? What's new in Cyprus and everything?
Nothing really. I mean, same old, same old. The French are looking after us. We sleep safe at night because of them.
Well, that's good. Okay, France is getting hawk pilled. So,
what was it last weekend? Not Pence. What's the other one? Pompeo. He came over to Cyprus to see the president. Upset the Turkish side because apparently he should have gone over and seen them. Don't know why, but Turkish Cypriot special forces are training with American Navy SEALs, I think, this week.
Okay.
So yeah, that's been going down, and that's about it, really.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I know Turkey's being a total menace. So, and we still have losers in the West that try to defend them and try to say that they're a useful ally, that they're somehow acting in the interest of the West. They're a punk that's out of line, man, and they either need to get back in line, or somebody needs to put them back in line, or they need to get the hell out and be treated as an enemy. So, I mean, the kind of crap that they're doing with Greece and Cyprus right now, I mean, these guys, I mean, imagine looking at Erdogan. I know that there are some quote unquote hawkish people on Twitter, like was Boppin, who's a huge fan of Erdogan, that thinks that Erdogan's based. There are a lot of people out there that like Erdogan. Those people are garbage. So, Erdogan. What a joke.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose I better crack on myself.
Oh yeah. I guess you gotta get going. But I did get the computer and everything together now, so that's all done. So we'll set that up tomorrow. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, mate. I can't wait. I can't wait to see your new rig set up and you streaming without any problems. It's gonna be dope, man.
I still might have some stream problems because this might be an internet issue too. But we know that the memory on this current laptop, it's not good. Like if I check it right now, I'm probably utilizing about 90% of the memory just streaming here. Like,
holy shit!
I know, right? It's bad.
we can get you set up properly, get your OBS set up with Streamlabs, and you can stream from Discord. It's going to be dope.
That's crazy. Like, I've never done that before. I'm just using StreamYard. But I got to figure out OBS, because then I can save $30 a month from StreamYard. So
yeah. I'll teach you everything, mate. Don't worry. We'll sit down one afternoon or something, and we'll do it all. Do you actually have a day off at any time?
Actually, Wednesday. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll see what we can do on Wednesday then.
Sweet. So we'll talk to you later, Jay. Have a good night.
Yeah. Thank you for having me as always, Kevin. And don't forget, people, go to teespring.com and get your Nikki Haley hater t-shirt or hoodie or mug.
Nikki Haley hater. Yeah, no, I'm gonna put that in the channel description or in the video description for sure, so people can go over and get those shirts and buy that merch. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna have to come up with some merch after the PC set up and everything over here. Like, there's so many ideas for merch too, that we could have with this channel and everything. I guess you've probably got a pretty big inventory of memes and stuff on your end, right?
Oh, mate, yeah. I've got so many memes. So many memes.
Man, no, that's awesome. So have a good night. We'll see you later, Jay. And
yeah,
I'll do the outro right here. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to this channel. Go subscribe to the War Kettle, by the way, if you haven't done so yet. Also subscribe to Reese. Let's get Reese up to 10,000 subs. He's getting close. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitch. We're almost at 50 followers. That'd be cool. And if you'd like to support what I do here, you can check out my Patreon. The link is in the description below. And your support there actually goes into investing in this channel and increasing the quality of the tech and everything that we've got over here in the setup. So we will have some really cool streams coming soon that are going to have, obviously webcam feed again. Got a good PC that can handle it and everything. And also, if you want to send your boy a tip, PayPal's also in the description too. So, and be sure to follow like all of us on Twitter. Jay's on Twitter at the Soy Kettle. I'm on Twitter at Kevin Castley. Reese is on Twitter at Nightmare Fuel NF. Wyatt's at on Twitter at Wyatt Claypool, Wyatt_Claypool. And also, go and subscribe to. Did I mention Jay yet? Go and subscribe to his channel. So I think that's everything. So have a good night.
Thank you, Kevin. Peace. Take care. Bye-bye.